And you are watching another edition of Blewetts Blitz. I'm going to try to figure out while I'm really small. There we go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Blewetts Blitz. Haven't been on in a little bit, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. I think it was like maybe 2 weeks before the draft or like a week before the draft. So it's been about 2 weeks, actually. I'm going to say a week before the draft and now. Obviously, a little bit busy recently. I told you guys I'll be moving, as David in here says. I'll get into a lot of the chats, get into a lot of the just what's going on in my life and why I've not been around as much. But yeah, new room, David. I moved into a new house, double the size of my last house, so it's a good thing for sure. But I've been super busy, so I got to figure out echo. It actually almost sounds like there's a little bit of an echo in this room, so I need to get some like sound pads. I was just taking a couple of minutes to try to figure out why my Ethernet cord is not plugging into my computer. Or it's plugging in, it's just not working. My Mac does not have an Ethernet port, but it has like a little attachment thing, but it doesn't allow me to doesn't hook up. So I gotta figure that out. Had to figure out a ton of stuff. So I just moved in last week. It's been wild. So a kid, full-time job, a huge move, and film has been taking over my life, which is why I haven't been able to stream as much. Just trying to get into all the film of the free agents. Most of them I got done. I got all the way up to Derek Nottie. I have to watch like Byron Cowart. I have to watch, some guys like that, like some lower tier guys. But all the main free agents I watched, all of the draft picks I watched. Sans, the linebacker from Miami, and the DN from Miami. I haven't watched them yet. What I typically do after a draft is I go back to all of the picks. I watch about 4 or 5 games of each guy just to get a pretty good feel of who they are, and then I go back and watch the entire length of the film, so I could do the actual review. But I watched obviously Membu, right? I did a full blown review on Membu, so I already know my feelings on him, and we'll talk about the draft and all that stuff. I watched Mason Taylor, I watched Azare Thomas, if that's how you say his first name, but Thomas. I watched Smith was after that, Arian Smith. I watched him 4 games, and I watched Moore. I think I watched like 3 games of Moore. So I have plenty of opinions on these guys. So we'll talk about it. Again, sorry for the little bit of absences, missing streams, and only really doing every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. But it's just kind of where I'm at right now. You'll still be getting the film and all that stuff, and you'll be getting the opinions backed on or based on film. But in terms of the frequency, the once a week thing, I couldn't do it. Now I can, now I'll be back more so than I was. So saying hello to some people, get into the draft class a little bit, kind of just go on about them, talk about them. Maybe I'll show some clips of them if I could really, if I could find what I would like to pull up. I can talk about some of their strengths and weaknesses so far off the top of my head. I have my little list too, but I'm hoping I sound good, because again, I can hear a little bit of an echo, at least where I'm sitting. I don't know if it's just like the hardwood floors or not. Maybe I got to throw some rug in here, but it does sound a little bit echoey. So let me know how it sounds. But again, we'll get it all figured out. We'll get the room painted white. Get some stuff behind me, because right now you have a light in the door, and that's about it. But some of that stuff will go up. But Dakota, what is up, dude? Eagle Thing says, hey, Joe, it's been a minute, a hot minute. Hope everything with the family is going well. Yeah, everything's going super well. The house is making really good progress. It's just, it's a ton of work to not even just get the stuff in. Like, I'm fine with moving a couch or a dresser or whatever. Like, those are easy tasks. The thing that sucks about moving to me is looking at a garage full of boxes and having to organize and throw stuff out and figure out where stuff goes. And I'm trying to be super good moving into a new house, like putting freaking labels on different cables and what they go to and stuff. So I don't just have a box of random cables. It's always something I struggled with just random wires and shit. So I'm trying to be really, really, really absurdly organized. And it's quite the task, but it's also quite rewarding to set up a house that I'll be in forever. My last house was a bi-level, not really great. This house is, again, double the size. The yard's bigger, great neighborhood on a cul-de-sac. Like, it's awesome. So I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make it a great spot. Maybe I'll take you guys on the tour one day. But we got to get the deck in. We're getting a sunroom, all that type of crap. So once it's done in 3 years, I'll walk you guys around the house. But yeah, no, it's been great. Eagle says saying that best pick was the first three. Other than that, saying that best pick was the first three. Other than that, I feel like they missed on some good talent. But yeah, it's a thing where, like, who do you mean exactly? And again, with the draft, I feel like people tend to base their opinion on what PFT's opinion is, what PFF opinions is, because a lot of people will see, oh, well, this guy was available in the 3rd round of my PFF draft. He's now available in the 5th round of the real NFL draft, and they skipped on him. Oh, terrible pick. Or, oh, or vice versa. Oh, well, he was available in the 3rd round of my PFF mock, and now he's here in round 5. The Jets took him, great pick, and he can blow. So like teams in PFF and PFT don't have similar boards. Like at the top, it's pretty easy to guess. But there's certain picks that we feel are reaches or slam dunks. You really don't know because you don't know how teams are really identifying these guys. So we'll get into Arian Smith and we'll get into plenty of the picks. But seemingly some of the picks they got some good value, at least to draft pundits. You have the D end again. I'll the D end and the linebacker. I kind of forget their names. So I haven't really done them. It's like Myoga and the D end is a simple name. I'm just forgetting off the top of my head, but. Those guys both seemed like good value. The DN seemed like he actually went around later than some people expected him. The linebacker seemed like he was about the round that he was expected, but I saw some people say he should even go earlier. So I think a lot of people are kind of basing this draft off of Arian Smith, and we'll talk about him. The speed is very, very legit. 4.3 guys, some people don't really show it. Like Denzel Mims ran a low 4.4 or whatever it was. He didn't play like that at all. He might have even ran a high 4.3. He did not play like that at all. Arian Smith seems faster than his 4.36. Like, he is ridiculously fast. Another thing about him is that, and we'll get into like the little bit more technical stuff about him, I guess, if you guys want. But the thing about him too is his mindset. He's definitely feisty. I got to watch more games, so my opinion can form and it can change a little bit. But from what I've seen from him, whether it be a block, whether it be a yak opportunity, whether it be even just a route that he's pressed on, he shows some feistiness like after the snap and even during the play as well. So I think the Jets see a guy who is uber athletic in terms of the speed, some decent body control, really good acceleration. I think they see the feistiness and they want that deep threat element. If you guys have been obviously listening to this podcast and you have been religious in terms of listening to it, at least recently, one of the things I said was that the Jets, could they get a true X receiver in this draft? No, because like a true X to me, it doesn't have to be a certain prototype, but it's a guy who can get off the press and it's a guy who can win deep, right? That's really boiling it down to what the X is, a guy who can win off the press and win deep, at least the ideal X. And I felt like the Jets were not going to be able to have both, just based on this draft. You get into the second, third round, do you really have guys who are both of those things? No. Maybe there's some combination of both, but not elite in either one. So I think the Jets saw a speed guy and said, hey, at least he's elite in one of them. Hopefully we can develop the rest of it, but he has that elite speed. So if he can get off with press, a guy who currently struggles with it because, his frame and two, little things, his hands need to be more ready consistently, but he actually does have some fast hands when he's ready for it. So if you could get him off of press, like there's your speed X guy who can take the top off the defense and make it easier for everything else underneath. So I get the trait and banking on the trait, again, is it a pick I'm condoning? Not necessarily, but I'm not going to absolutely hammer it. Like I get their thinking specifically because, again, what I said in terms of the X, what do they want? And even if he's, you don't want to use a pick on a decoy per se, even though it is a 4th round pick, so a decoy may not be a bad value. But if he is going to beat that and open up your offense and then hit on a couple of big plays every once in a while because a guy missed the press or blown coverage, then fine. So I get it. Again, I don't love the player necessarily, but that speed is tantalizing. And we can get to the rest of Smith's film or talk about him a little bit more as well. If Tucker is found innocent, no, we're not doing it again. Like, it's just there's too much drama around all this stuff. And you know what it is, Eagle? Like, even if he is found innocent, will those allegations go away where more people pop up? It's just not worth it for a kicker who fell off really, really hard last year. He was not good at all. Am I now going to try to take a shot on him? Sure. If there was no allegations, if there was nothing with him, yeah, sure, take a shot on him. He's a Hall of Fame guy who had a really bad year last year, but with the combination of him sucking last year plus all the stuff that's been going on, even if proven innocent, I'd rather not. It's just a thing where, in terms of building the culture, building the Jets image, do you want to bring them onto your team again, even if proven innocent, just because of the drama that surrounds it? Again, I know that's kind of not right because, hey, if you're proven innocent, you're proven innocent, but the noise that surrounds it, even if not for me. David, new room for sure. Brand new room. This is definitely my first time, and hopefully I will be streaming here for the next 50 years of my life. This room will never change. So whatever I got to do to it, this will be the room. I think I got to put up some decorations again, paint, and then we're gonna throw a futon in here, I think, too, for like a guest office in my basement. So I got a basement with this is the office, and then we got like a movie room outside of here in the basement, like past this wall right here, and then to this side is all storage. It's unfinished. It's a half unfinished basement, all storage. So I spent time building like, I don't know, 12, 13 like industrial racks to store stuff. So it's just, again, been stupidly busy. Christian, what's up, dude? So yeah, the film's coming out a little bit slower. I haven't been on Twitter as much. So this draft season, I'm playing at a handicap, but you'll always get the film. It'll always be out there. You'll always get the reviews. You always get the me talking about it and giving my honest opinions. Again, it's just a little bit segmented this year, a little bit slower, but you'll always get it. And then next year we return to form because I will not be moving into a house, so I'll be quicker on it for sure. Tony the GM, miss you, Joe. Need a regular weekly show. Yeah, that's the goal. I honestly think, like, looking at all the stuff I have to do in this house, it'll probably take me 2-3 more weeks to get like pretty comfortable. Where I have my garage done, I'm putting down some black floor mats in there. We're gonna make it like a half gym. So once I get that all done, 2-3 weeks, I think I'll start having a show every week, if not bi-weekly. But you'll never have 2-3 week gaps. But yeah, weekly again is the goal. It'll be there. Thanks, Ben. Living in Jersey. Yes, I am living in Jersey, Monmouth County in Middletown. People are weird about that. Like, oh, I can't tell people what town I live in. It's weird. Like, are you guys going to find me? And I don't think so. But yeah, I'm in Middletown, right by like Sandy Hook. If you guys don't know the area that well, then like Sandy Hook, Asbury, but about, I don't know, 20 minutes north of that. So Middletown. If people know where Middletown is, Homedale, Hazlitt area, that's where I'm at. Pick one for an extension, AVT or Simpson. Ooh, I like that. That's a bold question right off the jump. Hold on, does this work? I like that. Choose one for it. So that's so hard, right? Because AVT is 25, right? The problem with AVT is he's played 4 years in the NFL. 2 of them he had season-ending injuries, right? Unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, because he's playing on his 5th year this year. So 2 of them he had season-ending injuries. His first year he was healthy, and this year was healthy. So 1 and 4 healthy, 2 and 3 injured, if I'm not mistaken. Unless his rookie year he got injured, but nonetheless, two injured years, 2 healthy years. Younger John Simpson, less of a sample size of good play because AVT has been good on the field for 4 consecutive years. When he's on the field, he's very good. Simpson had a good year with the Ravens. Nani was right on that. I was on that as well after I watched him. Like, dude, this guy is at least an average guard. Like, I don't understand saying he's a low tier guard, and I'm surprised with them, the money they got him for. So you have a 2-year sample size of Simpson, but he's older, but he's less injured. And then you have AVT, who is a higher draft pick, more versatile, younger, higher ceiling. Man, that is such a loaded and a really great question, Tony. My head saying Simpson, and it's not because I'm saying Simpson's the better player. It's because of the injuries, and it's also because I think Simpson would come at you for a less price, right? All worlds being equal, if they're the same price, then probably AVT. But I think you can get Simpson for cheaper, maybe because there's less of a sample size. He's a little bit older. So off the top of my head, I'm going to say Simpson, just because, again, I think it's an easier deal to do, cheaper, less of a sample size, a little bit older, but more healthy too. Like, that is such a good question. But if AVT's healthy again this year, like if I could wait until the end of this year and see if ABT is healthy again, then I do it, because then you have 3 out of 5 healthy years, which is still even a little bit sketchy. But that's enough of a sample size. But right now, gun to my head, 2 out of 4 healthy years, give me Simpson. With another healthy year for ABT, give me ABT though, if that makes sense. Plus factoring in money, all that other stuff. That is a fantastic question though. I like that. David says Tyler. I don't think it's Taylor. It's Tyler. Barron seems like a pass rush specialist, so I can say I did look up a little bit of info of these guys. I did look at highlights, which isn't a lot, obviously. You guys would never really hear me say that. Obviously, I'll go back and watch, every single rep of 10 plus games of him or whatever it's going to be. But in terms of what he is, he does look like a guy he looks like he's relatively versatile. Like, he looks like a guy who can rush as a end. He looks like he can rush a little bit as a 3-tech, sort of like a JFM mold. In terms of, and again, this is just for relevancy's sake. I'll say it's not that he is JFM, but in terms of the role he'll play, a little bit outside, probably more outside than inside, for sure. But you can flex him to the inside to rush against a guard, it seems like. He seems like he's relatively slippery, and he looks like he has some good strength. I don't think he's the most explosive guy in the entire world, so I don't know how much of he's going to win as a pass rusher, but I do think he's like slippery enough and has a good enough size to win from the edge. So I don't think he's ever going to be a guy who has 10, 11, 12 sacks, but I could see him being a guy who, whether it be as a rotational guy, or let's say he reaches his ceiling, and I don't want to necessarily cap anybody's ceiling, but somewhat in the world of realism, let's say he's a okay starter who's an okay pass rusher and a decent run defender. And if that's what you're going to take in the 5th round, awesome. I think he gives you some flexibility as a rusher. Again, I think he could be a guy because of his length and his size, 265. I think he could be a guy who can contain the edge, at least decently well. So I like the versatility of the pick, but just in terms of pass rush specialists, and obviously both of these guys are different, but I don't want you to think of like a Bryce Huff or a Will McDonald in terms of a pass rush specialist because they can't play the run. It does seem like he can play the run. So I think he's actually relatively well balanced in terms of his overall game. Now, again, that is off of research. That is off of me watching some film clips. Like you look at, you go on Twitter and you search his name and you try to find some film clips, watching highlight tapes. So I have a long way to really form my opinion of him, but like baseline right now, it's kind of what I'm thinking with him. So Eagle Thing says, shout out to Jordan Travis. It sucks he could not overcome his leg injury. Joe took a bad risk, sadly. Yeah, and it's a thing where like, did something else flare up? Did he hit a setback in his rehab? What were the medicals? That's something that's impossible to know, right, Eagle? Like, it's a thing where, if we had the background information and we had a doctor breaking it down to us and said, hey, yeah, the Jets were idiots for even taking these guys. His injuries were so bad. Coming to the Jets, they should have never drafted him. Then okay, that's obviously different than them being told, hey, everything is good by multiple doctors. Then he hits some type of setback, something unforeseen, and then he's missing the rest of his career. Obviously, something unforeseen to the Jets because he's missing the rest of his career. They thought it would take a year or two, not forever. So yeah, it's loaded, right? And who cares really at this point? I'm not saying like who cares about your question, but in terms of it doesn't really matter with Travis anymore. So is it Cook? Is that a possibility? Maybe it's Cook, the UDFA quarterback from Missouri, right? Is he the third guy? Is it Martinez, or do they carry none? Unless Cook really balls out, I would probably advise carrying 2. Because one, is Cook even worth it to keep on the roster? And then really with that kind of stacked on top of that, is Cook a guy who would be taken off your practice squad if he wasn't drafted? Is he, if he wasn't drafted, is he going to be a guy who's going to be nabbed off your practice squad? Probably not, unless he really just balls out during the preseason. But in that case, hey, you win-win. Like now he's on your roster, and he's balling out. But if he doesn't ball out, then okay, obviously we root for the balling out, but it's a thing where you get to stick in your practice squad. So I think they do probably carry 2, but nonetheless, Jordan Travis is gone. I think he was a little bit maybe overhyped in terms of what he could have been without the existing injury. People were like, oh, well, 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick. I think he's probably a 4th round pick who fell to the 5th, right? Or maybe a 3rd that fell to the 4th, whatever it was. I think at his peak, he was a low 3rd round pick. I don't think he was ever going to be a guy who was drafted highly just because his physical upside was not great. Obviously, his legs were good and stuff like that. Not Michael Vick or anything like that or Lamar Jackson, but decent legs. But his arm was limited. It just is what it is. So, I think he was he a 5th round pick? I think he's a 5th round pick, but he probably should have been a 4th. So sucks a little bit. They wasted a pick on him, but it is what it is, right? Not this regime. We got a super chat. Great, Jet Sharks says congrats on the new home. Here's some money for a new vase or something. Yeah, I don't need any more stuff. What I'm trying to do is consolidate and get rid of stuff. So my wife actually caught me. I was moving from the old house, and I was trying to throw out like a couple of garden gnomes that just look kind of crappy and like dusty and just not great. And I tried to throw them out, and then she walked by the one day by the recycling and was like, "Oh, like the garden gnomes, like they're coming." It's like, "Fuck!" Like I try to hide them, but not well enough, obviously. But that's what happens. My recycling has been full for about 3 months, like stuffed to the brim because of all the shit I'm either bringing in Amazon boxes or getting rid of. It's been wild, but yeah, thanks, man. It's that'll buy me, like, realistically, that just bought me my my AC power cable from my Vizio to my my power, my outlet. That just bought me that. I had to buy a longer one. It was only 5 feet, and I needed 10 feet to run it through the wall. So thank you for AC power cord. Great, Jet Shark. Thank you. Let's see. Keep going through the chat. But yeah, no, I appreciate it for sure. Again, it'll take me a little bit to get adjusted. I hope the sound is not echoing. I don't think it's echoing. It doesn't look like it's echoing on the Rodecaster, but I don't know. I'll figure out the sound in here. If I have to put up freaking those padded wall things here, I will. Again, this is where I'm at for the rest of my life. So whatever I got to do to this house to make it perfect, I will. So, including changing the color to a nice spotlight white. Nice spotlight white in here with a bunch of Jet stuff behind me. Okay. I'm kind of shocked the Jets did not draft a kicker since Greg, the missing leg, cost us 3 to 4 games. I don't know how many good kickers there were in this draft. Honestly, it's just like, did they pick up any UDFAs? I think they did pick up a kicker UDFA. They have who they bring in from. They brought him in last year, I think, or maybe even they just signed him to practice squad. I don't know who they signed, but they signed some guy who had a name. Was it Greg Joseph? Maybe it's Greg Joseph too. They signed. They'll have competition. They'll have a competition, and we'll see what happens exactly with the kicking competition. But is it a thing where I'm like shocked where they didn't draft one? No, because typically you don't see. Obviously more kickers are undrafted than drafted, right? Obviously, right? Because you're not going to have there's 30 college. Well, actually, no, there's 1,000 college teams, but you see typically 3, 4 drafted every year. 2, 3, 2 to 5, maybe max. I don't know if there's ever been 5, 2 to 3. Joe, haven't been able to see you live in a long time. Glad to make it live. It's like, to me, it's not been a while, Matt. I think I saw you like the last stream or 2 streams ago. So for me, not a long time. For you to see me, yeah. Again, I was pretty consistent with every week for I don't know how many years, but yeah, obviously things have been going on. Adult moves, for sure, dude, for sure. It's been beyond adulting right now. I'm glad the Jets skipped on the quarterbacks in this draft. Next year's draft will be historic, and they all come out. So the only thing I'll say about that, Eagle, is like, again, this past year, fast or rewind a year, Carson Beck was supposed to come out. Drew Allar was supposed to come out. Quinn Ewers was supposed to be a top 5, top 10 pick. So all these guys who are apparently great in 2026 could all either go back to school or just completely fall off. So I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, it's a historic class next year, because the class has to get here first for it to be historic. With that being said, am I glad they skipped on this class? Because I'll take a shot and I'll take a somewhat educated guess that the draft next year is going to be better. That's one reason, yes. And secondarily, it's a thing where this class kind of sucked. Like there wasn't a lot of great quarterbacks. Obviously at the top, Shadur Sanders fell to the fifth, sixth round. Jackson Dart went in round 1, but really there was only one quarterback worth considering for the Jets because you want your long-term guy. And, Jackson Dart can be that and all that stuff, but really there was only one top guy, and that was Cam Ward, where hopefully there are 3 or 4 guys next year. And maybe a little bit more depth. But my problem with the Jets was it was like either, hey, at the beginning of the offseason, trade up to number 1, number 2, number 3, where we have to get Cam Ward. Obviously, that didn't happen. But past that, like my thing with drafting a guy in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, right? I feel like it leaves you in like quarterback purgatory in 2026 if Fields does not work out, right? Like if Fields doesn't work out this year, let's say he gets, 10, 12, 13, 14 games, or let's just say 10 games, right? He gets 10 games. He sucks. The rookie comes in for 7 games. He kind of is okay, but not great. You're not sure if you want to build a future with him, but obviously a sample size with a guy for 7 games isn't enough. So you got Fields on a 2-year contract. It's now 2026. You have him on a 2-year contract. Do you get rid of him? With the dead money, you have Jalen Milroe behind him. He kind of showed something, but not enough to skip on a quarterback. Do you skip on one? Do you draft one? Like there's just a lot of gray zone with that. So to me, it was either you draft the guy high and you commit to him, but don't go like halfway in with developing both Fields and then a rookie. Like in the 3rd round, 4th round, you grab like Will Howard or wherever he went, and now you have him. Like, do we develop him? Do we draft another guy? Like, are we pouring too many assets into it? So I didn't want to go halfway in on the draft at quarterback. So I didn't like them drafting a guy 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. I was against it really the entire time. Now, would I understand if they drafted like a guy in the 5th round just to take a dart throw? Fine, but then you have really no level of commitment to it because it's a 5th round pick. But 2nd, 3rd round pick, like you're kind of not deemed to see it out, but you kind of are. Like you don't want to waste too many assets. Whilst that sounding almost foolish because you're talking about wasting assets at the quarterback position, but you guys will get what I'm saying, right? Like leaves you in purgatory a little bit in terms of what do we do in 2026 if neither of these guys show enough or work out. Like, not for me. Matt says, Joe, unless you already talked about this, do you think the Jets should pick up one of these receivers? Yeah, dude. Now, sorry. Who are the receivers available? Wide receivers available? Because really, I know Lockett went for a relatively cheap deal. For me, it's no doubt, right? Because right now you only have Garrett Wilson, legit number 1, right? Okay, cool. Past that, I think in an ideal team, Josh Reynolds is your 4. I think for the Jets this year, Josh Reynolds being your 3, okay, acceptable. Like it's a team that's going to run the ball. It's a team that's going to hopefully emphasize their a tight end, or the tight ends, even though they don't have a second one, really, in my opinion. But I get it's not a team that's going to go 11 and empty and 10 personnel and all this stuff all the time. With that being said, you still want somewhat of a strong receiving core. So I still do want a number 2. And again, the Jets, for where they are with their offense and where they are as a team, Josh Reynolds as your 3, okay, not necessarily terrible, even though obviously down year 2024, got shot, injured, whatever. But Reynolds is a 3, okay, acceptable. Let's say, Lazard as your 4 combination. Let's say Lazard as your 4. Lazard may be cut. But Lazard, Johnson, Corley, Smith, let's say, making up your 4, 5, 6. Okay, like it's something. Corley has some potential. Obviously, Smith's a rookie, so he'll take a little bit to develop, but he has some potential. Like I'm okay with those guys, 4 through 6, but you at least need number 2, in my opinion. And with this team, again, I don't care how much they run the ball. I don't care how much they're going to emphasize the tight end. I don't care how much they're going to emphasize the Justin Fields' legs and all that stuff, RPO, short passes, whatever it may be. They need another. Oh, geez, this page is interesting. Oh, okay. They need another receiver, and you're looking at receivers right now. So you got Amari Cooper. Okay, like 30, 31 years old. Obviously, not the best statistical season with the Bills. Obviously, coming to a team, somewhat mid-season is difficult. I'm not sure if he battled injuries. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but nobody's gonna be perfect right now, right? It's not like we're signing Calvin Johnson at this point, prime Calvin Johnson. So Amari Cooper, after a down year, I still think he's young enough to be a good player. And with Cooper and the next guy I'm about to talk about, realistically, they're guys who Cooper was a great athlete in college and even really early in his career, but he was never a guy who was considered an elite athlete, in my opinion, of Cooper. Oh, he's just really, really, really technically sound. So if you can run routes and he still has semblance of like burst and speed, then and he's not injured, fine, Cooper, because I think he'll be good for if he's healthy and he has and he carries some of his athleticism, not all of it. He could be good for a few more years just because of how good of a route runner he is. And same thing with Keenan Allen. Injuries, getting a little bit older, 32 or whatever he is now, but a guy who's an extremely good route runner and smart route runner. So I think he's a guy who could be worthwhile. So those are the two guys who you really look at and you're like, okay, those are interesting, because past that, it is fucking brutal. Really, and I noticed some names in here, DJ Chark, but he hasn't done anything in, at least to my knowledge, in 2-3 years. Tyler Boyd hasn't done anything in about 2 years, even though, he was with where did he go that was Woods who went to the Titans. Did he also go to the Titans as well, Tyler Boyd? I forget, but like Kadarius Toney, I think he's a rapper now. Brandon Powell, Chris Conley, Deontay Hardy, Jamison Crowder. Crowder was like, okay. I think even with the Commanders last year, like a 30-year-old, 31, 32-year-old Crowder, it's just not a really great list. So for me, shelling out $5, $6, $7, $8 million to Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen, I think it's worthwhile to open up this offense, open up Garrett Wilson. And they're not going to change so much of how they play Garrett Wilson transparently because of a 30-year-old Amari Cooper or whatever he is. But it gives you another viable option. Let's say it was Cooper and your receivers are now, Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper, Josh Reynolds, Corley Smith. And maybe at that point you get rid of Lazard, but at this point he's like $2 million. So maybe just keep him for his blocking, because he is probably the best, or he is, I'm not going to say probably, he is the best blocking receiver the Jets have right now. And then Tyler Johnson's most likely off the team in that scenario, which, by the way, I watched Tyler Johnson and just the definition of a jag. Like, maybe he's okay at contested. And he has the ability to block, even though it's very sporadic. In that scenario where they bring in another receiver, Tyler Johnson's the first one off the roster to me. I would keep Lazard over Tyler Johnson at this point, considering the pay cut. Again, specifically because of the blocking, and I think he's a better player than Tyler Johnson. But I would bring in Cooper, no doubt. Or Allen, no doubt. Again, I'd have to watch them to really say, okay, who would I really like more? But either one sounds fine to me. Gun to my head right now, probably give me Cooper, I guess, being a little bit more healthy. Has he? I don't know. ABT was on a team-friendly contract unless he wants to move back to the West Coast with a new team. I don't want to give up on ABT just yet. I'm not even saying that. Somebody asked me specifically him or John Simpson, and there's a lot of factors into that. But I'm not giving up on ABT. I would love to sign ABT long term if he's healthy. The versatility, he's really technically sound. I think as a guard, he has that Pro Bowl potential that he could reach, specifically if he stays there. So I like ABT. But a team friendly contract, I can't say that. It's just. It's funny. I was literally just talking about it, like what a house buys or what money buys you in a house in New Jersey, specifically in Monmouth County, versus a house in Texas. I'm not going to say that the price I paid for my house, it was a lot, but like in Texas for this money, I would get quadruple the house, triple the house minimum. So I could take, let's just say it's in the low, let's take a based house in today's market, $500,000. Let's say you spend $500,000 here, you get 1,300 square feet, a bath and a half, 3 beds at best. In Texas, what are you getting for $500,000? You're getting 3,000 square feet, three baths, 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, probably, if not even more than that. Like, so, and plus, Eagle, that money is also not taxed. So you can get a lot more bang for your buck in this state, not only just with money, just with the individual actual dollar bills, but you also get more money. So you make $1 million, you make $1 million contract, and this is not actual money, numbers, but we pay you $1 million salary in the NFL in New Jersey. You end up taking home, I don't know, 600,000 of that, let's say, or however it works out, $600,000 of that. In Texas, you may take home $1 million of that $1 million, or I don't know what fees are, but 900,000 of that $1 million. Like plus you get more bang for your buck. If I had no ties to New Jersey, and I'm not trying to sound like a dick. Like I know a lot of like people want like, oh well, stick with the team who drafted you and all that stuff. But if I was ABT, let's say, and unless I love the team and I really love the Jets, like I'm thinking, okay, this team has lost a lot. I'm making less money there and less bang for my buck. Do I want to stay in New Jersey with a coach who's not even the guy? It's not even the GM who drafted me. I don't know, man. If I was ABT, I'd probably move on unless the Jets really give you a lot of money or you really bleed green and white for whatever ungodly reason, considering the fact he's not a fan, he's just a player. I don't know. I could just tell you if I had $1 million here or $1 million in Texas, the $1 million in Texas would get a lot farther. Houston, Florida, or states with lesser tax. So there's a lot of thinking into that. How many starters picked this draft, Tony the GM? Well, you got two, undoubtedly, right? Obviously, Membu is starting, and obviously Taylor is starting. I think past that, like Smith could end up being one. Am I going to bank on that? No, realistically. I think the next guy who could be a starter is Azareye'h Thomas. Now, are we talking about this year or in years, in 2-3 years down the road? I think Azareye'h Thomas is a guy who could definitely start in this league. So I'm going to say eventually 3. With 4 being a potential as well, because I think Malachi Moore is a guy who, and again, I'll get maybe more into it specifically, but he's a guy who he's like a master of none. He's like a jack of all trades, but master of none. I think his mastery, and again, I'm a little bit early. I'm only 3 games into it, but he seems like a guy who baits well and drives on balls well and gets interceptions and gets his hands on the ball. So I think that can kind of be like his primary trait. But in terms of like athleticism and stuff, he's not really. He doesn't have supreme acceleration or speed or strength or anything like that. So I think he's a guy who, I think he stayed at Bama for 5 years. I think he's kind of, I'm not going to say close. I'm not going to say necessarily close to his ceiling, but I think he's closer to his ceiling than many prospects are because he's been there for so long in a really advanced system. And I think he's somewhat tapped out athletically. So I think he's a guy, if Tony Adams struggles, or even in camp, could beat him out and be your starting strong safety. Even though more of what I watched of him was at free safety, I do want to see a lot more man reps of him to know exactly how he holds up in man coverage, even though initially it is pretty well. So I think he's a guy who is playing high, specifically at Bama right now, 3 games through. He baits guys well. He seems pretty smart. He's good at like leveraging himself over route concepts. There's a lot of like smart aspects to his game. But apparently he's a guy who can play in the box a little bit as well. I want to see him, set the edge more. I want to see him blitz more. I want to see him play in man coverage, and that will come in the next 7 to 10 games I have to watch of him or whatever it's going to be. But he's a guy who's already kind of somewhat near his ceiling of what he's going to be, I think. Again, there's plenty of room to go, or plenty of room to grow while acknowledging that. But he's a guy who I think could start over Tony Adams. The thing with Tony Adams is now he has he has a secondary coach. The guy has really high physical upside in terms of man coverage. Tony Adams is a really good safety in terms of man coverage, or he could be. But we'll see. So I think it's gonna be an interesting battle. So I'm going to say in the future, Thomas is a starter, Taylor is a starter, Membu is a starter. So I think you have 3 locked in the future, and maybe even not for the Jets with Thomas. Maybe Stevens is here for 2-3 years. They trade Thomas, whatever it's going to be. But long-term NFL starters, I think you probably got 3.5. I'll put it at, with more being that 0.5. I think he could be a really good reserve role player, big nickel play player, or I think he could be an okay starting safety because of his versatility. And then obviously, we're talking about, guys' ceilings. Could Smith be a starter? No doubt. If he can learn how to catch and run routes, he could be a starter all day. Am I going to bank on that? I don't know. So 3.75, I guess. I don't know. Joe, Jojo. What's up, Chris? You think 4 for $48 is a fair deal for Simpson? Well, what did he get last year, David? He got like 7-8 million, maybe 10, something like that for Simpson. Let's see what Simpson's contract is right now. I honestly forgot from last year. John Simpson contract. 2 years, 12 million, so $6 million a year. So you're doubling his salary at that point for what I thought has been 3 good years in a row. Yeah, if you could tell me right now, Simpson for 4 years, $48 million. Like if they sign Simpson right now to a 4-year, $48 million deal, $30 million guaranteed or something like that, I would take it. I think for a solid. He was solid last year, right? I think with the Ravens, he was decent. I think he upped his game to solid last year. If you give him another solid year, I think he probably gets more than this. If he plays in 2025 like he did in 2024, I think you're probably looking at 13, 14, $15 million for him, 13 to 15. So $12 million right now, sign the dotted line for Simpson. I would probably do it. But again, just saying that if he plays like that again, I think he gets more than this. I think he more than doubles his salary based on how well he played last year. So for me, hey, sign the dotted line from right now, 4 for 48. Yeah, I would do it. Probably 30 million guaranteed, something like that. $28 million guaranteed of that. For a decent guard now. You're talking 13, 14, $15 million, I think, right? Like, there's a good, I'm not going to be able to pull it together, but there's a guard who went there, or there was guards this offseason who went for relatively high prices. So, Ressi, miss you? I don't even know who Ressi is, but I missed you too. I don't even know if I recognize that name. Stevens moving to safety? No, I don't think so. No, I think the Jets will have some versatility in their defensive scheme. Not only because of the versatility of their players. You have so many guys who could play multiple positions. You can have Moore who could play high, who could play low. You have Cisco who could play higher, who could play low. You have Tony Adams who could play higher, play low. You have guys like Michael Carter II who could play slot corner. He could play outside at some instances. He could even play safety in a pinch. You have JBC who's versatile, even though I don't think he makes a team. You have Stevens who he played some safety last year. Now it was few and far between that he played safety. Again, top of my head, it's hard. I've watched thousands of reps, but gun to my head, the over under of his reps played there was probably, I don't know, maybe 20 reps. Yeah, 20 reps over under there. But in terms of like switching it up for a rep where Michael Carter the second drops back into like an inverted cover 2, and Stevens steps up into us and he's playing corner, or well, he obviously is going to play corner, but just they offer a lot of versatility in the scheme. So I think he will see a rep or two at safety. Primarily there, though, no. I would still put the over under, 30 reps he plays safety, just again mixing it up. If they're going to send guys from different areas and stuff, maybe that can happen, but primarily no. I think it's a thing where Stevens stays at corner. Thomas, gets developed for a year or two. Or maybe they get rid of Stevens next year. I'm not sure the cap implications are. I'm pretty sure he's locked here for 2 years though. But maybe you can try to trade partner if he performs well. But I think Thomas is going to be a guy who is developed. Is he 20? I think he's like 20 years old as well. So he's young. And then you have him as your 4. If anybody goes down, you have Michael Carter as your 2. You have Stevens or not Stevens. You have Cisco at free safety, and you have a battle between Tony Adams and Moore for strong safety. It's probably what you're looking at. I just you don't sign a guy who's barely played safety to $12 million a year or whatever Stevens got. Again, for some versatility and looks, yeah, for sure. But T. Rivera, hey Joe, I'm glad you're back. Congrats on the new house. Yeah, thanks. This Jets draft is about bringing good, solid players that could be great starters or great valued backups. Next draft, we can solidify D. Yeah, I think like in the beginning of the draft, I think like you specifically, I lean more towards so in the beginning of the draft, taking best player available at position of need. Obviously, it's ideal when the best player syncs up with need, but like, let's say. And obviously he fell, but just for sake, let's say Will Johnson was the best player on the board. Do you take a corner there? Like if he's an 8.9 and Membu's an 8.8, but you really need a right tackle, like me personally, I would lean towards the tackle. and even in the second round, like, was Mason Taylor absolutely unequivocally the best player on the board at that point? You can make that argument. Am I even going to bring other names into it? I'm not, because I didn't watch those guys, so I don't want to sound like an idiot. But gun to the Jets' head, was he the absolute best player there? Probably not. There's probably a player they had ranked higher in terms of who he was, but maybe it was a corner. Maybe they had Thomas ranked higher than Taylor, but they have corners, so Thomas fell to the next round. And they're like, oh shit, like. So typically the first like round or two, maybe even 3 rounds, is like best player available at a position of need. And then you're talking about like 4th, 5th, 6th round, or even 3rd round, like 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Just get the best player. Get Azareye'h Thomas, who's going to be, hopefully really good in a few years. Or, let's say they drafted a running back in round 5. If he's going to be a stud in a few years, you don't really need him this year, then fine, draft him, or whatever it may be. So you're looking at Thomas, who I think is a starting level guy, and then with the D end, people will say he was drafted a little bit lower than they expected. So cool. A linebacker, fine. We'll go through them all a little bit individually, but yeah, I think they grabbed guys who were the best player available later on, and with some fans that didn't sync up with their needs in terms of like D tackle or wanting whatever it may be. But the Jets pick guys they think they could be good players. I think a lot of people have the problems with the Arian Smith pick, if that's how you pronounce his name. But again, I get the speed. I get wanting to play him maybe at X and opening him up the offense a little bit more, taking the top off the defense. The speed is elite. I think he's even probably faster than a 4.36. Really good acceleration, good body control. He's pretty feisty, which I think they like. He's got to work on route running and drops. Like there's a little bit too much dancing with his route running. There are some times he's not committed to his steps. When he does commit to his steps, he gets to have his breaks really, really well. So it's not a thing he's not able to get out of the breaks well. It's just the technical aspect. He's shown fast hands in terms of getting off of press and quick feet. Does he always show it? No, but it's there. Like you see the flashes of him getting off of press and burning a guy. You see the flashes of him getting out of a break really well because his footwork is actually semi-proper. So if they can get that stuff together, then I get the high upside swing on a guy like that in the 4th round. I do, even though maybe I wouldn't have done it myself. It's not a pick I'm going to criticize, because if he works out, he's like, if he again just turns his technique around, it's a high risk swing. I'm okay with it, So yeah, that was the problem that people had, or that was the pick that people are problems. So I went completely all over the place there. But in general, I didn't hate it. Like I think it's like a B plus draft, and again, that's without me even doing the full blown reviews yet. But B plus, like I'm fine with it. If you got me a starting tackle, a starting tight end, a future starting corner, and maybe a starting safety with some depth players, like good class. It's not going to be 2022. But still, I think it could be a fine class. If you told me 3 starters of every class for the rest of time, sign me up. Realistically, that's if those players work out. People think the draft hits more so than it actually does, but because people see highlights and all this stuff and get attached to players, like show me a GM who's brought in consistently 3 starters over every single draft, minus the elite ones. There's been drafts where I'm sure Ozzie Newsome or Howie Roseman have not brought in 3 starters. So if you're going to tell me 3 starters for the rest of the time, hey, cool. So, and I think this draft class has that ability. I think they did get 3 starters. Whether Thomas, maybe Thomas doesn't work out, and it's more. Maybe more doesn't work out at Smith, but I think you got 3 starters, and maybe a couple role players again. Maybe again, I always forget the names, but the DN from, I just haven't seen his name enough. The DN from Miami, maybe he overtakes Clemens, and he's a good rotational guy. Maybe the linebacker Mayoga, whatever his name is. I haven't really watched a lot on him, but he seems like a guy who's somewhat limited athletically. Like he doesn't seem like a guy you're going to want in coverage. Like he's not the most fluid player, even though he has some speed. He's not the most fluid player, not great in coverage. But in terms of like reading about him and seeing some of the highlights, he does seem like a guy who's comfortable in the box. He does seem like a guy who could set the edge. He does seem like a guy who can blitz. So Mayoga, my question with him is, and again, after getting into it more, I'll have a much stronger field. But if you guys have been watching this show again recently, I've been bringing up the fact that I think the Jets do want that like bigger quasi linebacker on the edge. And I don't think Mayoga's like that quasi end, but I do think he's a bigger linebacker that they could stick on the line of scrimmage. And he's a guy who can maybe set the edge, blitz a little bit, drop into some shallow coverages. But I think they're going to play him around the line of scrimmage a lot. He's going to be that 2-down player, but also throw some versatility into their defensive front. So I think I wonder if he's going to fill that role and not be like a stand-up traditional edge to develop behind a Quincy or a Sherwood. I wonder if they're going to develop him into being that hybrid edge guy, even though, again, he's a little bit small for like that true hybrid role. But I wonder if they're going to push him into that in some sense. Not the full role, because I don't think he's big enough to do it. But based on the aggression, based on what I'm seeing in terms of it being comfortable in the box and the versatility in terms of blitzing and stuff like that, maybe they put him on the edge a little bit. And he's not necessarily a backup to one of those guys, but they have some type of specific role for him, or maybe he gets 10 reps a game, something like that, whilst also being developed as a backup, right? If you feel what I'm saying. Tony, 26 draft needs. 2026 quarterback. Hopefully not, but yes, most likely. Guard, depending. Hopefully they sign both their guys. Wide receiver 2, yes, no matter what, right? D tackle, yes, I would say that as well. I would like to see the Jets maybe bring in another D tackle. Now, who may that be? Let's see the list again. These are just off the top of my head, and I didn't watch them, and I didn't. I haven't studied them or kept up with them really, actually. So I could say a guy, you're like, oh, he sucked for a year. Okay, I get it. But defensive line. Is there specifically tackle on this website? No, there's not, of course. Defensive line, John Jenkins, John Kaminsky, Fadokasi. Like, is that a name? Bring in Fadokasi again? Okay, bring in Fadokasi. Fine. But I do think the Jets need another. To me, right now, I'm concerned about the run defense. If you have Taylor as a backup to Q, okay, I'm willing to take a chance on Taylor being the backup 3 tech. So you have Q as your primary 3 tech. You have Taylor as your backup 3 tech in a developmental role. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Nadi as your backup D tackle stuffer, but I don't think they have that starter yet. Or even if Nadi is your starter, I think you need to bring up a really good backup who can back him up, because it's obviously not the strength of the team. But I personally don't want to see, and again, I have to watch these guys, but do I think Jay Tufele or Brian Cowart are enough for me as the 4th D tackle? Probably not. Maybe they carry them as D tackle 5. It's possible. Plenty of teams carry 9, 10 defensive linemen. So maybe Cowart or Tufele is a DT5, but I still prefer another run stuffer somewhere in there, because I don't think Cowart's really that, and I got to watch Tufele either, but I don't think he's that either. So I would like another run stuffer. So yeah, give me a D tackle next year in that draft, and obviously in this free agency as well. And you also mentioned linebacker. Obviously, depending on Quincy, assuming he's off the team, yeah. So D tackle, linebacker, yes. Wide receiver 2, yes. Safety, obviously if Cisco works out, you sign him. And then you have Moore and Adams, so possibility, but I'm not going to lock that one in yet. And then edge, yeah, probably, and maybe that hybrid guy too, that hybrid edge guy. But yeah, it's going to look something like that. You might safety, linebacker, yeah. There's plenty of holes. Aaron Rodgers still has not made up his mind about. Yeah, it's May, dude. Like, retire, right? At this point, like, he made the Jets wait until what? Was it the draft day, the day before the draft? Like, he made them wait until April, later April. But now we're talking about another week or two after that. Just, he loves the drama. Like, I thought Rodgers got a lot of bad like media and stuff. Personally, again, a lot of it because of what he's against with the government and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into it. The thing that does annoy me about him, he definitely is a narcissist, no doubt about it. And he, for a guy who like seems to be very like, oh, I don't care what people think and all this stuff, he certainly seems to like attention and caring with and people having opinions about him. So, yeah, I just he's a little bit annoying, right? Like, you can't spout. I like the idea of like, I don't care what people think. I am my own man, all that stuff. That's awesome. And I think that's how you should live. But he seems to, in the way he outwardly acts, he seems to actually care, which is annoying to be He kind of condensed himself. Jets do have a good foundation to start the rebuild, and it's the O-line. Oh yeah, okay. I thought you meant a good foundation to rebuild the offensive line. I'm like, no, the offensive line is rebuilt. Hopefully they become a top 10 offensive line this season. Obviously, how do you quantify it? How do you measure it? But it seemed that the Jets were a average to plus average group last year. You add a legit right tackle, another development year of Fashanu, another development year of Fashanu, another development year of Tippmann, another year of all these guys being cohesive, being together. I think if they're not a top 10 offensive line this year, considering they afford, I'm not going to say a big contract into the Simpsons. Simpsons kind of not going to factor him in because $6 million is actually a cheap contract. But first round pick at left tackle, second round pick, but the first center taken off the board in 2023 in Tippmann, a first round right guard, a first round right tackle. They better be top 10. Or it's a disappointment. So, and I think they will be. I think they will be a top 10 offensive line this year. They have potential, if everybody reaches their ceiling, to be one of the best offensive lines in the league. Will they be that? We'll see. You could probably sneak Cook or either Martinez or Cook into to the practice squad. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. Unless Cook lights it up, probably on the practice squad. And I don't think you have to carry them on the 53. So I hate seeing from David. I hate seeing people say the Jets rushed Travis back. Why would the Jets rush him back in all in season when they had Rodgers and Tyrod? Plus, we never saw any updates about him getting closer. I don't think they did either, right? Like, what's the? And again, obviously, it's easy to just shit on Joe Douglas, shit on Saleh because they're gone. But realistically, why? Why did they need to rush him back? If anything, from what I remember, it was the agent sometime in the summer being like, oh yeah, like he's going to be ready by the beginning of the season, end of summer. So the only evidence I personally saw of him being rushed back was by him and his team saying that he'll be ready. Why would the Jets do it? Now, if they did, obviously, again, David, we have no information. We could be 1,000% wrong right now and be talking like jackasses, but just putting the pieces together, why would they want to do that? They wanted to rush back their quarterback 3 coming off a gruesome injury. I don't buy it. Matt says, Joe, do you think they'll end up taking quarterback 2026? And who do you like? Do they end up taking a quarterback in 2026? Yes. Who do I like? I don't know. Archie Manning. I don't know. Matt, I don't watch college football. I really don't. My extent of watching college football is the college football playoffs, pretty much. Like, obviously random Sunday or random Saturdays and shit. Like, it'll be on the TV if I'm not really watching it. It's background noise. I'm at a friend's house. I'm at my parents, my mother-in-law's house, or her dad's a big college football fan, or my brother-in-law, something like that. Like, yeah, we'll watch it, but not enough for me to legitimately pay attention to no guys until, again, the playoffs and then the draft season. My time is obviously consumed with the NFL, and not even just past the NFL, like me personally, hobbies. Big Devils fan, big Mets fan. I'm a Nets fan. I don't like. I'm not really the biggest fan of the NBA. And I was actually going to criticize. If Nani is listening to this, I saw a tweet saying like, "Oh, if this is the most skilled the NBA has ever been," and hopefully, maybe I am misquoting him, but like, it's the most skilled it's ever been. And if you just like the way it was, then you're just living in the past or something like that. I'm like, dude, I like the game with some level of physicality. I don't like the foul merchants. I don't like Trae Young drawing fouls. And I get it's smart to play like that, like skilled, but it's just boring. Like, it's like saying like, oh, well, Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer ever. He's the most skilled guy ever. Like, yeah, he won, but I didn't like the way he won necessarily. Like, I don't like the finesse. I don't like the foul, 53-point shots going up every game. The foul merchants, like I said, with Trae Young, with SGA, even with Brunson a little bit of a foul merchant from what I've watched. So I just don't like the way it's played. And I like the physicality. I like being able to play defense. I like being able to actually box guys out and throw guys around. It's like, yeah, they're skilled, but is it better? No, I don't think I'm attached to the past of the NBA. It's just soft now. And I don't like soft sports. LeBron gets barely bumped and he's on the ground for fucking 20 minutes. I hate LeBron, but nonetheless, it's just more skilled, maybe, but bring it back to physicality, and it's a more fun game to watch that way. So I guess you can technically argue that the guys are more skilled now, like with every sport. But is it the right way to be played? To me, no. The old NBA was better. Maybe I'm an old head, and maybe Nani is right. Maybe they are more skilled or whatever. But it's definitely not the best the NBA has ever been. There's no doubt about it. It's not the best it's ever been. to me. So you could argue skilled, but in terms of what I like to watch, no. Chucking up 3-point shots and guys being soft and foul margins, no, not for it. What's up, Greg? I think you need to give the Fields a fair shot this season. If he doesn't go well, you can easily move on. Yeah, that's what they're doing, and they showed that, right? They didn't draft a quarterback. They brought in a UDFA, but they didn't bring in a quarterback. So, sorry, I'm trying to see if my son is sleeping, which I hope he is. Yeah, so they're going to give them a fair shot. They're good offense. They brought in number one tight end. They have a number one receiver for him. Hopefully they're a good run game. Hopefully they build the offense around him correctly with Engstrand. They're doing that, but they should be quick to move off. Like, he has to prove a lot this year to not draft a quarterback, because again, I think you're in purgatory. Like, you don't want to have Justin and Fields throw. Again, I'm not sure what the average numbers are in the NFL. I'm not that type of guy, but like, he throws 18 touchdowns, 10 picks, which is a decent season. And he rushes for, and it's obviously better for Fields. I'm going to say rushing yards, but he rushes for 750 and 5 touchdowns. And it's like, okay, like a good season, but like actually relatively decent. But like, then do we skip on a quarterback in 2026 for what was just a decent season? Like, I don't know. I think Fields has to prove quite a bit to me to not draft a quarterback. Like, it's not a thing where, oh, he's good, he's the best we've had. Like, that's not enough considering the amount of shit we've had. Like, so it really kind of depends. Like, he has to have a really, really good season for me not to grab a guy. QB class at the top is Manning, Nico, Sellers, Alar, Newsmeyer, from that's LSU, right? Not include the other first round talent. I'll be film watching like you this coming season. Watch him. Let me know. But again, Drew Lahr was supposed to come out this year. He didn't. Carson Beck, he was supposed to be great. Quinn Ewers. And so Nico, Sellers, Alar could suck, and it could be Manning and Newsmeyer, and it could be the Browns and the Browns and the Colts at 1 and 2, and they're both gone, and they just have no shot to move up. Like, there's so many possibilities a year out. I'm not just gonna be like, yeah, it's all gonna be great. There's gonna be so many guys, I think come training camp, every receiver spot should be number one. Yeah, David, it should be, no doubt. David just says in terms of the receiving core being up for grabs past number one. Yeah, why would it be? Nobody's proven enough. Reynolds hasn't been decent for over a year now. He bounced around, got shot, all that stuff. Lazard is Lazard. Tyler Johnson's a Jag. Corley hasn't earned anything, apparently. A little bit immature. Smith is a rookie. Nobody's cemented. Skinner, in terms of the quarterback, if that's what you're asking, I don't know. It's strange as an old-timer Jets fan. Jason Taylor's son. I don't think you're old timer, Eagle. You're like mid-30s, right? I don't think you can call yourself an old timer yet. But Jason Taylor's son is now a Jet. Jets fans grew up hating Jason Taylor's guts before he came a Jet himself, and then people quickly flip, right? And now his son's here. The Jets channel, all that stuff. Got to root for him. Like, I saw some people on Twitter like, "Oh, I'll never root for Jason Taylor's son." That's the most idiotic thing you could ever think of. Like, how shallow-minded that is. Like, did Jason Taylor choose to get drafted by the Dolphins and then stay there for 10 years, whatever it was? Like, if you were Jason Taylor, if it was Greg, let's just say Greg Rollo, because it's a name I see, and Greg Rollo, you're obviously not this guy, but let's say Greg Rollo is one of those guys that says, "Oh, I'll never root for him." If Greg Rollo was Jason Taylor and he got drafted by the Dolphins and was there for 10 years and they paid him millions of dollars, he would love the Dolphins too, and he would have stayed there. Like, you can't kill a guy because he played for a different team unless he specifically says, "I hate the Jets and they suck," which I guess he did a little bit, right? But it's part of the rivalry, especially in terms of being in the mid 2000s, early 2000s, all that stuff. Like, there was more hatred in the NFL, and you actually hated your rivals, and you didn't just take pictures with them and stuff. So, it's just like, I hate him because he played for this team is really, really idiotic. Even if he said bad things about the Jets, it's what you're trained to do when you play for another team, right? Like, stupid. D Stern, let's go. I've been waiting for this stream. Just made my day. Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Again, it's just a thing where, like, I could have came on 3 days after the draft and give opinions on these people, but those opinions would have been so baseline that you've already heard it already, because it would have been me researching these guys. So I want to take a couple of days to watch them. And again, I got through 5 of the 7 draft picks. So by the time my next stream comes, which will hopefully be next weekend, I'll have watched more of these guys, and then also Mayuga and the DN from Miami that I consistently forget his name. So what's up, Kev? Steven, one of our own. Stefan, I don't know if it's Steven or Stefan, actually, to be honest. Steven Stefan. What returning Jets player is the most overlooked heading into 2025? Wow. Returning Jets player overlooked heading into 2025. That's a really good question because there's not a lot of them you'd think would be overlooked. Like Breece Hall's not overlooked. Garrett Wilson's not overlooked. Obviously, you're talking about returning Jets. Simpson at this point is like a Twitter superstar, so he's not overlooked by fans at this point. ABT is not. Fashanu is not. That's a really hard question because like it feels like guys are either like cemented or have a lot of expectations, or they're kind of they really suck. Overlooked. Maybe like, and this is a reach because again, I don't think you can say anybody at receiver. I don't think you can say anybody at running back, right? You can't say anybody at offensive line because they all have high expectations. You're not going to say a tight end or anything like that because Jeremy Ruckert, no. Defensive linemen, we all expect what they're Will McDonald has high expectations. Q has high expectations. JJ has high expectations. He's not overlooked. The linebackers we know about. Sherwood just got paid. Quincy got paid. The corners we all know about. We all know about Michael Carter. We all know about Sauce. So really, like I think one of the only real answers for this is maybe Tony Adams. Maybe it's Tony Adams. Maybe Tony Adams under a new DB coach, maybe under a head coach who is obviously specifically a defensive back. Maybe he can take all of that raw skill he has. He can learn how to tackle and he can learn how to play in coverage better because he has all the physical upside. So I'm going to go with Tony Adams. But I think I'm kind of locked into a box there. Like, who could you say is overlooked? What would be your answer, Stefan? And what would what's the rest of the chat? Who's overlooked to you guys? I think it's a really good question. I think it's hard to answer. Because like you can't say ABT or Simpson are overlooked, or even Fashanu. Like, is he overlooked? Like, are people assuming he's gonna be really good after one decent year? That's crazy. What was your take on Smith? In my opinion, the Jets didn't value the board well in day 3. But like with who though? Like who are you saying? Are you saying that because of positions? Like you didn't expect the DN, you didn't expect a linebacker, so they didn't value the board well? I think it kind of actually points to them valuing the board properly by just taking the best player available. I think people's gripe with the day 3 is them not drafting who they wanted or the positions they wanted. And Smith is, again, obviously the biggest. And then the Smith part of it is people feel like he's a reach because of what Matt Miller said or whoever else said. And let me tell you right now, I'm just going to be transparent here. I've listened to Matt Miller talk. He has absolutely no idea what he's talking about in terms of film breakdown. The guy has no idea. So I'll just be straight up with that. I watched him. Maybe something he knows, but he portrays, or people think he knows more way than he knows. He does not know a lot. Now, with that being said, because of people like that or whoever else, so he's such a bad pick. Like I think they did probably reach on him. Maybe they could have grabbed him in round 5 and he's a round 4 pick. But the speed is tantalizing. The upside is tantalizing. The mindset they like based on what I've watched. So he's raw, no doubt. But people reach on speed in round 1. Like I don't mind reaching on speed in round 4, considering guys in round 1 who have been reached for because of speed. Ruggs was a reach in my opinion because of speed, and obviously these aren't great examples because they were reaches, but like. Was it Hayward Bay or Darius Hayward Bay was reached on the first round because of speed. Kevin White, I think, was propped up because of his obviously size as well, but speed. Like people are overdrafted because of the traits all the time. So to kill them for overdrafting on a trait in the 4th round, I'm just not personally going to do it. Even though, while again, also acknowledging that that's maybe not the pick I would have made, but I'm not going to kill them on my pick because if he just becomes decent at technique because of the speed he has, he's going to be a player. And even if he is a role player, even if he's a number 4, even if you drafted a number 4 receiver in the 4th round, but his specific trait is getting off of press coverage and is winning deep, then great. Like give me that guy. So I think people freak me out personally too much on the Smith pick. We're talking about a round 4 receiver. It wasn't round 2 or 3. That's how I think. Elite traits. In my opinion, day 3 players were special teams players. Which, yeah, again, and the D tackle thing, yeah, maybe they should have graded D tackle, but maybe they're targeting Foley Fatukasi right now, and the guys in the 5th round Like a lot of the guys I was looking at, like who people projected around 3, around 4, whatever it was, were all guys who were like 310. Like, were there any guy or 300 pounds? Were there any guys who were 330 pounds, 340 that they want as a run stuffer? Like, maybe not. So I get being a little bit annoyed they didn't grab a D tackle. Fine. I'm not going to ruin a class, but I'll be honest with you, Kev. Day 3 players were special teams players. That's kind of what they are, right? Like, when are they not special teams players? In day 3 and reeling or living in the world of realism. Like, yeah, you hope one of those guys can be Sherwood or Michael Carter or something like that. But if your 5th, 6th, 7th round guys are role players and guys who come in either when guys are injured or for 5 snaps a game and then are also good on special teams, that's kind of what the expectation is. If you gun to my head right now, hey, in 2037, the 6th round pick is a solid special teams contributor, I'll take it. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, they suck. I think the DN from the DN from Miami is a role player, most likely. Okay, fine. That's good for a 6th round pick. The linebacker may be a special teams guy, or like I said, they may put him in for 5 snaps a game to be that 5th man in the line of scrimmage who can blitz a little bit, who can drop a little bit into coverage, and who can set the edge a little bit. So yeah, like, if they weren't special teams guys, they wouldn't be day 3 players. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I think maybe your expectations are too high for what day 3 guys are. Take the best player available. And again, if they didn't feel like they should reach on a D tackle there because maybe they just didn't like the player. Maybe he wasn't that good, and they knew he wouldn't fill a role because he fell to the 5th round for a reason, and they plan on signing Afado Kasi. That's the ideal method. Or maybe they just realized that, hey, we're not really going anywhere this year. We'll give it to Nadi. We'll give it, and then the guys backing him up could be young who could develop. Maybe it's Cowart and Taylor. Like, I wouldn't get worked up. I'm not worked up about it. It's just, if this was the 2024 Jets and we want to plug every hole to make a Super Bowl run, then yeah, get those guys. And if they don't draft or sign a D tackle, I'm gonna be pissed. But what are the expectations this year? 6, 7 wins? Like, I'm not absolving them of any responsibility to win, you know what I'm saying? But like, maybe they want to develop guys. Maybe they think Cowart has a higher ceiling than what he's shown on the Bears, and they want to make him D tackle 4, and they like Leonard Taylor. Like, it just, don't lose your mind about it. D Stern, that's what I love listening to. I couldn't agree with your take on Smith. Oh, that was a while ago too, so I skipped another one. But thank you. Joe, why doesn't the NFL compensate teams that draft players with high percentage of not playing due to their injuries? I think we can all agree JT wasn't going to work. Just a thought. Thank you, Joe. All agree that Jordan Travis wasn't going to work. But I think you need to expand upon this. What do you mean compensate teams that draft play due to, because that's a risk. That's a risk that the team takes personally. Obviously, you that's high risk, high reward. It's just a big swing of the bat because guys like Jeffrey Simmons. Right, Jeffrey Simmons. Like, a lot of teams passed him on the 1st round, but the Titans picked him, or maybe even traded it back up into the 1st round to pick him. He was really, really injured coming out of college, but they knew how high the upside was, and they obviously hit on it. Or you can have a situation where you take a swing on an injured guy and he stays injured. They're not compensated for it because the injury factors into the evaluation and when they're valued. Right? Is that the proper way to word that? Like, it's factored into where they're drafted. It's not like, oh well, okay. Jeffrey Simmons locked at 30 pick. Oh, well, now he gets injured and you took him. So, well, we know he's injured. You took him at the 30th pick still. So now we give you a compensation 4th round pick. Like, I don't know exactly what you mean. Like, it's factored into the evaluation. You either take them or you don't. You risk the injury or you don't. That's all part of the total evaluation of these guys. Pick 2 to extend Brees, JJ, AVT. Damn, that's another good one because that's loaded too, because Brees, what does he want? To me personally, I'll be honest, and like, maybe I'm getting old now, I'm 32. I think Brees is a little bit soft on social media. I do. I like him on the field and stuff, but like, Sauce is a little bit annoying, but like Brees, like tweeting out the 3-4 emojis and stuff, like the prayer emoji stuff. Like, I think he's a little bit, I don't love Brees's social media antics. I'm not going to delve further into it. If you've been following him on Twitter for a while, he's a little bit cagey, a little bit sensitive maybe. And I think he may even think he's better than he is because last year was disappointing. Again, he was a Jag last year. There was no difference from him and just running back X. He was an average player at best last year. And if you think I'm being harsh, that's fine, but that's because you're backing up your opinion of what Brees was in college, what Brees was year one, what Brees was year two. That's what you're thinking Brees was. Brees year three was just an okay player. I don't care what you think of him. I really don't. It's out there. The explosion numbers were down. He broke 7 tackles, dropped a lot of balls, fumbled a lot of balls, didn't see the field well, didn't break arm. I said break the arm tackles. The speed was gone. Like he was not a good player last year. I'm sorry. So does he bounce back? Do you pay a running back? Like I'm going to skip on Brees. To me, you skip on Brees. I just don't, how good is he? And then even if he is good, do you want to bank on a running back continuing to be good? And do you think he's going to get the right money? I think if he plays good this year, he's going to demand more money than he deserves based on the sample size. So Brees is a no. You typically don't want to build around running backs. It's not like the Jets or the Eagles. The Jets are the Jets. They have another 2-3 years to go before I think they're really, really true contenders. While saying I think they could turn around in a year where they could be a playoff team next year, in my opinion. But I still don't think you sign Brees. Quincy, you'd want to because of Q, you want to because of the mindset, you want to because of all this stuff. My thing is he's going to be he's a 30-year-old linebacker who relies, I'm not going to say relies, but the most tantalizing thing about him is his speed and the athleticism. That's obviously going to fall off when he's 31, 32, 33. So it hurts to say goodbye to Quincy because he's a great player and obviously because of Q, but am I going to bank on a line, and this is multifaceted. Am I going to bank on a linebacker who relies on speed and athleticism at 30 years old? That's one part of it. Two, I just paid Sherwood $15 million a year, or $14 million a year, 13 to 15, whatever it was exactly a year for Sherwood. Am I going to build my team around $30 million a year at linebacker? Even though Quincy probably gets less because he's older, but no, hard. It's hard to pass on Quincy, but again, just being smart and team building, I'm going to say no. Both JJ and AVT, I'd want to be healthy for another year to really feel solidified in this because JJ can come back and struggle. He can get injured again. AVT can come back, not struggle, but get injured again. But in terms of long-term outlook for the team, I would say JJ and AVT. And maybe those guys even give you a little bit of a discount because of their injuries, and that factors into it. But I'm not putting $30 million into the linebacker position and building around another linebacker. This one being 30, at that point, 31 years old, I believe, relying off athleticism. And again, I don't think Brees wants to be here. And I think if he is going to be here, he's going to be overpaid to be here. And then again, I think he may value himself more than he should based on what last year was, because he still talks like he's a superstar. And last year he was wildly disappointing. And we could say coaching and all that stuff, but coaching doesn't make you break tackles, drop ball, or break tackles, drop balls, fall down into contact, and fumble. So Celtics shot 63s. It's just, dude, again, I get the argument that these guys are more talented, fine, but give me the days of obviously I'm a little bit younger than the bad boy Pistons and stuff, but give me Shaq and Ben Wallace and even that Pistons team, Rasheed Wallace and some of those nasty guys and Jermaine O'Neal and Tim Duncan and KG. I like that stuff. Mixed in with the 3-point. There's still plenty of talent. You could say more talent, I guess maybe, but was Allen Iverson not talented? Did he not dribble and shoot and all that stuff? And Kobe and all these guys, there was 3-point shooters. There was definitely 3-point shooters back in the day. Now, there wasn't Steph Curry, but I don't know, man. I don't like the NBA now. Again, on top of just how soft it is, it's crazy. So, okay, let's see. FYI, pick 92 we gave up for wide receiver Adams turned out to be Milrow. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not, it's not directly correlated, right? It's not like the Jets, if they had 92, they take him as well, right? They could have taken Azari Thomas there or whatever. Azari Thomas, was he earlier than 92? Again, I know he's a third round pick. I forget exactly what number, but yeah. Okay. I'm in a situation where dog is barking kids up. If my kid gets up at at this moment, I have to go. But I don't think he's going to, because bigger house, dog barking is not as big of a deal, but he can still kind of like barely hear it. Josh, miss your Insight Weekly. Glad you're back. Yeah, I think I was only gone for 2 weeks. I just think it's a situation where like you have probably 1,000 draft videos from 1,000 different people right now. So it feels like I'm so far gone because all the other content's out there, but I've only been gone for like 2 weeks. It really has not been that long, I think. Exactly. NBA, so many threes, boring. I proposed for 1 year. They get rid of the 3-point line. Yeah, it's obviously never going to happen, right? Like I get the idea of like starting that thought. It's never going to happen. Hello there. Yeah. The funny thing is, I'm actually definitely so we're allowed to grow facial hair at our work. It's only allowed to be half an inch. I'm definitely at like an inch and a half. So I'm definitely past policy. So I have to shave before I go in tomorrow. But I haven't been able to find my razor. I do not know where my razor is, considering all the boxes I have in my house right now. Even though I've been killing the box game and getting rid of stuff and organizing it, but for some reason I can still not find my razor, which I'm shaving with. So I don't want to be Grizzly Adams. I just want to shave. Do you think Taylor tight end can get 8 TDs this season? That's really hard. I'm going to say, do I think he can? Yes. Do I think he will? No. Right. Like Justin Fields throwing 8 touchdowns out of 20 to his tight end? Probably not. I think that's where Garrett Wilson is, maybe 8 to 10. Maybe Taylor's at 4, 5, 6. Like I think it's possible, but based on what this offense is going to be, I'm going to say no. Does he have the capability to be a high upside tight end? Yeah, like he's I don't think he's extremely I don't think he's the biggest guy. I don't think he's the fastest guy, but he's decent size, right? He's 6'5", 250, so he has the size. I think he has some strength. He needs to round out his strength a little bit more in an NFL locker room or weight program. He's only 20, so he has upside to get stronger. He surprised me a little bit as a pass blocker. I think he's actually an okay pass blocker, which again, it was surprising based on what I've heard about him. So at least he has that capability in the run game. Mostly willing. There's some blips where is not the most willing, but in general he is willing. He tries. The effort needs to be, or the technique needs to be better. He comes into blocks way too high. But he fights to stay on the block and he drives his feet hard. He comes into it high and his hands are wide all the time. So if he can get stronger, get his hands in lower, play with a more consistent base that moves towards his threat and rolls his hips up and through his block, I think he could be an okay run blocker. I don't think he has the upside to be a guy who's ever going to be a good run blocker, but do I think he could be a decent pass blocker and a decent run blocker and a really solid receiver? Yeah, I don't think he has the best speed. I think he has solid speed. I think he has really good hands, really smooth hands, comes back to the ball, catches it, is really quick to turn upfield. Not the best yak guy. I think he picks his lanes well and like he gets upfield well, but he doesn't break a lot of tackles. So he's limited as a yak guy just because he doesn't have the strength for it now, but very smooth, a guy who I can see being a really good receiving tight end, and maybe he just rounds out to being an okay blocking tight end. But based on what I heard about him, I thought he was going to be miserable at it, like have no potential. And the run blocking was not good, right? I acknowledge that. It's not good. There's potential. The pass blocking was actually okay relative to realistic expectations for tight end in college. The pass blocking was okay, and the effort was there. So I actually think he could be an okay blocker. He's not now. Only in pass blocking, and that was at the college level, so he might be below average at the NFL level. But speed, good, or very solid speed, not elite, but very solid speed, good hands, good feel of like zone, good feel of zones. I think he needs to diversify his like route pacing, and I still want to see a little bit more with the route running. Doesn't hold his ground as well as I want him to. He gets bullied around a little bit more that I want to, like during the stem. So again, strength is needed. Like there's some technical aspects that need to work in terms of like his breaks and committing to steps and all that stuff I'll talk about in his review. But I like the pick. I guess I'll just go through them really quickly and I'll fly through the chat just in case my kid does wake up. Make it more lightning round. Azariah Thomas, the speed thing, do not worry about it, at least in my opinion. What do you run a high 4.5? Low 4.6, whatever it was. He looks on film to be a high 4.4, low 4.5 guy to me. So I think the speed is fine. I think he's okay there. I think he's good acceleration, really good at finding the ball. Really good in press coverage. Now in press coverage, there are some things I want him to fix. There are some times he jump splits. There are some times I want him to see his hands more ready. And there's way too many soft releases or soft shoe releases for me, which is just not getting his hands on the receiver. And playing back a little bit more. I do want him to see him to cinch up a little bit. In press coverage, get his hands on more, but the press upside is really, really high. The athleticism is pretty high. I think he's a little bit tight in terms of like his transitions at times and his lateral ability. But in terms of like explosion, acceleration, driving on a ball, and even like his speed is like I think it's solid. Maybe a little bit tight, but he's 6'2". Like Sauce is all of those things in terms of explosive, fluid, lateral, all that stuff. But Sauce is a top 5 pick. So to me, Thomas looks like a guy who probably should have been drafted in the early 2nd round, and we got him in the 3rd round because of a bullshit 40 time. So I really like Thomas as well. I like Taylor. I get it with Smith. I've already talked about that enough. Again, there's plenty of things to work on. And then past that, Moore again, I think is a guy with an okay ceiling, but I think he's a guy who's like he's just going to be solid, and obviously different because he's better than Chuck Clark in terms of like what they do, but almost like a Chuck Clark, like not a great athlete, but like where you want him to be in good. And obviously pre-Jets Chuck Clark, think of Ravens Chuck Clark, and in different roles, but in terms of just being like solid everything, master of none. That's kind of what I think Moore is. So I think Moore could be an okay starter and a guy who could fill in relatively quickly. And then past that, you have the linebacker and the DN, who I'll talk about. But seemingly, DN's gonna be a rotational guy. Hopefully, they get rid of Clemens, save $3 million, and they plug in Barron. I think it's Tyler Barron, right? Actually, now I'm remembering it. Barron will be hopefully your backup DN. You get rid of Clemens. Maybe Watts is the other one, or McGregor, or maybe all 5 of them. And then the other guy's a linebacker, who again maybe he fills that hybrid kind of role that I talked about. The old timer, I watched Super Bowl 3. I was 14. Yeah. He's got you. He's got you there. So you're in but I don't know. So Super Bowl 3 was in 69. You were 14. So 1955. So you're 70. Right? Did I see that math right? Right? Yeah. 70? Matt? We're winning 1 or 2 games just by having Hackett coaching, but not having Hackett coaching, and Saleh and Ulbrich and all these guys, which wild with Ulbrich in terms of his kid reaching out, which like how much of a scumbag can you be? Like I get Ulbrich apologizing for it, but realistically, he probably had a phone in his office that his kid snuck in and grabbed. Like it's yeah. A little bit of blame on Ulbrich, but realistically, living in a house with any kids, like you're gonna lock your doors to your office, maybe, I guess, if it's that important, right? But scumbag move. Speaking of NFC2, how little will his role change in this defense? Does it change things for him playing more man than zone? Well, the Jets actually played they played a lot of man last year as well, and like people, and obviously there are different principles, like having 1 guy high versus 2 guys higher or whatever it may be, and the frequency and some of the rules and stuff. But like he played in man plenty in terms of like a man role, whether it be like match or actual true cover 1. Like they played that enough where I don't think it's going to affect him. Like, oh, he's going to be out of place here. Now, more man than zone than Saleh ran, but all these teams run a lot of the same things. It's just the frequency of how you do it. And Carter, whether it be man or zone, he's good. I say Braylon Allen is overlooked. Yeah. I guess that can apply, right? Because if Breece Hall does continue to struggle, does Braylon Allen? I'm not going to say take over his role, but does he continue to get more reps? I think that's another good name. How much am I expecting? We'll see. We'll see. I almost want to go back and watch. I do plan on eventually getting out the free agent reviews, which are already prepped. That's got to actually record it. Do the reviews of the drafted guys, obviously. And I do want to get back to a few Jets, and like Braylon Allen, Fashanu. I got like 6 games through like 20 different Jets, but I think I'm going to consolidate and do like Braylon Allen, Fashanu, like some of the rookies. That'll be like July, August, if I get that at all. So Tony Adams is a good one for me. Aside from that, it's just young players making progress. Yeah, like you can't say Fashanu is overlooked or any one of those guys. Like I think Tony Adams is a guy who like everybody kind of just overlooks right now. Because he's young and he's struggled, but he has upside. He has upside. Eric Watts, though. Yeah, Eric Watts is a good one. Good run stuffing the end. Who maybe it's Watts and yeah, like I said before, maybe it's Watts and Barron and you can't play Clemens $3 million to be on his team, right? Like cut him. He's never been better. He's never done anything better than Eric Watts anyway. And Eric Watts is cheaper. Plus, then you have Barron, so get rid of him and bring in Eric Watts. I'm fine with that. Eagle says there are tons of influencers that do not know about what they're talking about. I think the Jets had a solid draft. Yeah, B plus. Like I think that's a fair grade. I think you could criticize they didn't grab a D end or D tackle, but again, if they signed Fado Kasi, are we going to give a crap about not grabbing some random dude in the 5th round who might not have worked? And then yeah, the Smith pick, but I explained plenty of it. Plenty of my thinking there. Anyone can watch film, but not anybody can know what not anybody can know what they're watching. Yeah. I appreciate that. Danger Zone, which go check out his show. I was on his show before the draft. Maybe I'll come on again this summer sometime whenever I'm not crazy busy. But yeah, I've seen that. Trust me. I've seen some film reviews out there. They are entertaining. Glaring weakness for the Jets after the draft. D tackle. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say D tackle next to Q is still glaring. D tackle, receiver are the two biggest ones, right? You can't argue that because at least there's Tony Adams at safety with more behind him. I'm gonna say receiver 2, D tackle in that order, just because and you can even argue that D tackle may be in bigger need over receiver. But I want to give Fields every opportunity and a young offense every opportunity, with the third being tight end. Really, even two tight end 2 might even be the number 2 need. It might be receiver 2, tight end 2, D tackle for me, because they're going to want to run some 12 personnel, and maybe they change it up a little bit where they don't run as much 12 personnel as the Lions did, and they open up the offense a little bit more to take advantage of the running game. Like you don't have to take advantage of the running game by running 12, 13. You could take advantage of the running game by running 11 personnel and spreading the defense out. Like you don't have to do it in one way. But I'm assuming they're going to want tight end 2 and Ruckert. Like, would you rather have Ruckert as a quasi starter or Derek Nottie? Like to me, it's probably Derek Nottie. Like I'm more comfortable with him playing let's say 40% of the reps. Let's say Nottie plays 40% of the reps or Ruckert plays 40% of the reps. Who are you more comfortable with playing those reps? To me, it's Nottie. So tight end 2. Give me receiver 2, tight end 2, D tackle in that order as glaring weaknesses, and all glaring. Joe, how do you feel about players asking legends for their numbers? Yeah, dude. If it's Rodgers to Namath, okay, 2 Hall of Famers. If it's even a guy who's maybe a little bit lesser of a Hall of Famer, like I don't know. Let's say for some reason, which I don't know if they did, like DeBrickashaw Ferguson, did they retire his number? I don't think they did. No, they didn't retire his number. Like if somebody asked to wear DeBrickashaw Ferguson's number, if it was in the Wall of Honor or the, what do they call it? Not the actual Hall of Fame, but the Jets Hall of Fame, the Ring of Honor. I would understand that, but asking LT for his number, you're talking about a top 10 player in the NFL ever, and you're a rookie who's proven nothing. So yeah, I not me. Joe, how are we feeling about the Mets? Good. I'm a little bit concerned about the bullpen. Was Spanik ended hot and started off hot, and he's been a little bit up and down. AJ Minter just went down right for the season. But overall, unless I'm mistaken, I still think they have the best MLB record in the MLB, if not like 1 or 2. I don't know if anybody's surpassed them, but they're a top 5, 10 team in the MLB right now, or top 5 really, considering record the best. So you have to feel pretty good. Lindor has been amazing. Obviously, Pete Alonso has been playing at literally an MVP level, which is quite wild. Soto is starting to slowly round out. He'll get there. I think pressure of a $700 and whatever $1 million contract, 760, is going to get to him. And obviously, like you said, people are pitching different to him, but he'll obviously be great. Vientos is bouncing back. I like their depth at catcher with Alvarez, and then obviously Terrence being back there too. Like Terrence is a prospect who came out as a hitter, and now he's showing good defense. So if he could be a good defender, good defensive catcher, and also be a decent hitter like he was supposed to be, then like Terrence is a good backup option. So the Jets are the Jets. The Mets are good, man. You're asking me my thoughts on them. I think Acuna too. Acuna is starting to play better. Obviously a speed demon, but I think he's starting to get like more discipline at the plate, which is good. Nimmo will round back into form. McNeil is McNeil, but yeah, I like the Mets. Who do you prefer round 4 besides wide receiver Smith? I'll be honest. Who do you prefer in round 4 besides receiver Smith drops and his long injury? Yeah, I'm concerned about the injury history too. And Jalen Royals and Jalen Noel while sitting there and looking at my phone, best available, and then seeing the Jets need a receiver. Like, yeah, in my head I was saying, yeah, Jalen Royals, but I don't know who he actually is because I haven't watched him. And 2, if the Jets looked at him and said like, okay, Jalen Royals is almost like the Malachi Moore of receivers, where he's good at everything or good at most things, but a master of none, then maybe they didn't want him. Maybe they wanted Smith, like I said, because he has elite speed that Jalen Royals or Jalen Noel does not have. And I'm not saying they don't because I haven't watched them, but do they have his speed? I'm going to guess not. And even if they tested as good as him, his play speed is stupidly fast. Like, it is impressive to watch him. Like he moves. So just like Azare Thomas, whatever, low 4.5 or high 4.5, low 4.6. He's probably really a really high 4.4, low 4.5 guy. Jalen Royals, again, I don't know his number. I'm assuming he had good numbers. But if he was a 4.4 guy, he could really play like a 4.5 guy. So maybe they wanted the speed. Like, who did I prefer? Really nobody, because I'm transparent in saying that I don't watch a draft like that, or I don't watch college football like that. Maybe when I'm 50 years old and I retire from my job and I have 40 extra hours a week to watch film, then yeah, maybe I will get that deep into the draft. But for the next 18 years, I cannot. But again, people bet on elite traits, and if they want that X, if they want that guy who could potentially play there, you're gonna need size or speed or something, and maybe those guys didn't have that. Joe, what do you remember about Leonard Taylor III? UDFA from last year who showed well might be competition. So I don't think he's competition for the Noddy spot, because he's more of a Q backup than he is a Noddy. Like, Noddy is a guy who can run stuff a little bit, play 1 tech, play 0 tech, where Leonard Taylor is lighter, not as good of a run defender, and a pass rusher. Like, he hasn't shown really much in the run game. Like, he's had a few flashes, but a lot of his flashes are sacks. So he's a 3 tech backup to Q, not a starter next to him. So if anything, he'll be the backup. So I don't think he'll challenge Noddy, not because he's not more talented than Noddy or could be better than Noddy. It's just the roles they'll play. But I like him. I like him. That's what I'm saying. Like, take a risk on him. If they sign another tackle, you're getting rid of, like, let's say they sign Fatukasi or whoever. You're not getting rid of Taylor to me. You're getting rid of one of Cowart, Tufele, or both of them. So I think Q's a lock. I think Taylor should be a lock. I think Noddy's a lock, or at least a backup. If they bring in another guy, Cowart and Tufele are gone, unless they want to keep one of them as a reserve. Why the NFL owe a team for taking injury risk? Yeah, you're not doing it. It's all their evaluation, and obviously that factors into it. It's not like a thing where everybody's locked into their picks, and then I can't even start to explain that. One glaring need is to run stuff in D tackle. Yeah. D tackle, but again, because of the offense, like receiver 2, like Noddy's, he's okay. He's not terrible. He's definitely not absolutely terrible. He's okay as a run stuffer. Bad last year in terms of like the numbers and stuff, but I think he's the same player in 2023 and 2024, just situationally and stuff. So look at his numbers from 2023, or be like, oh, decent signing. Like, not great, but still not a complete hole, but something I would like to fill. Noel wasn't there in round 4. Yeah, again, I'm not even going to be able to watch him. But yeah, he was there. Let's see. Hull was supposed to be the number 1 running back player. Yeah, I didn't draft him early. I actually had him as like a keeper in round 3, I think, or whatever it was. But yeah, no, he was in the conversation, Eagle. Like, it was legitimately him, Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, like all these guys at the top of the draft. But Hull in every single draft this year was drafted at the bare minimum in the top 6, 7, 10 with a gun to my head. Like, it's yeah. And he was not that. Realistically, we can't keep Hall, Sauce, Garrett, JJ. If Hall lifts value, I trade him this season. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I think Hall is gone. I think Sauce and Garrett should be locks to say, and then you hope for JJ. JJ's a guy who just came out and like thanked Muji and Aaron Glenn for extending his 5th-year option. He's so excited to be here. I think Aaron Glenn is absolutely going to love JJ and what he's about, and the mentality and just how loyal he is, and also the toughness on top of it. So I think if I had to bet right now, Sauce, Garrett, JJ are here past next year, and hopefully for longer after that, and Hall is gone. Yes, general rule, especially if that K Delgado general rule is once a player starts posting Bible verses on social media, it's a bad sign. Specifically, if they're a receiver, you're screwed. Because like maybe Jermaine has done that, but Deanne's is not as big of a deal. But yeah, if it's a receiver, game over. Okay, let's see. If Brees leaves, there's going to be idiots on Twitter saying he's going to be Saquon. Yeah, but he's never been Saquon. Saquon. And he won't be, because Saquon is, even on the Giants, he was a top 3 to 5 running back for every single year. Brees had one blow up year, but was he ever like top 5 running back in the NFL? No. He was projected to be last year, but Barkley has proven so much more than Brees. So yeah, we agree there. That shouldn't be what people say. They will, but no. He had a really bad year last year. Was Saquon ever average? If average, I think average might be being generous, considering the drops, the fumbles, the explosion numbers, the broken tackles. I think average is being generous. I think he was a below average player last year. Was Barkley ever below average? Or even close to it? No. In year 3, a lot of the faces are going to change around here if they are changing the culture. Yeah, I think if the 2026 Jets don't make the playoffs, I'll be disappointed. This year, I'm expecting 6-7 wins. Players more on the bubble for 2026, Hall or AVT? I'll say Hall. I think if AVT's healthy for another year, they'll try to sign him. I think Hall is on the bubble for many reasons. NBA is so bad. I'm with Joe. Yeah, there's plenty of it. Yeah, I'm really not even supposed to be. Yeah, dog ate my razor. Really, really, all it is I don't want to straight razor it, and I also don't want to use like the I have like the ones like the shitty ones, like the flip side of like an electric razor, but I have like a legit like razor. That I would want to use on it. I like a straight razor, not one of the electric ones, like an actual like what do they even call like the ones with the teeth that you go to the barber? They have those. I have one of those, and I need that. I get pulled and snagged. Will McDonald trade feels possible? Would have been the smallest edge player by the Lions last. Yeah, he's definitely not a fit for the system per se. Obviously, they're running a little bit different of a system, 3-4 versus 4-3. But he's not typically what Glenn likes in their DNs. The thing I'll push back about it being a trade coming is the fact that who are you going to start there then? Like, you'd rather have a guy who had 10 sacks, albeit 5 or 6 of them were kind of sketchy. I'm not going to say they're like a legitimate, all created by himself 10 sacks. Let's be realistic about what they were. There's at least a couple that were gifted. Will Levis like jumping over him and stuff like that, or tripping over him, or whatever, or unblocked or by design or whatever. But with that being said, if they had a great backup, then yeah, sure. But I don't think they're going to trade a guy who had 10 sacks this year just because it doesn't fit, because of the lack of depth and development there. If they draft a guy in the first round this year, yeah, fine. But I don't think you're going to get rid of him. Coming out of the draft, who had better value between Olu and Membu? It's obviously really hard for me to know, or like to go back. I watched Olu probably, I don't know, 25,000 reps ago, in terms of like his collegiate season. But off the top of my head, I think they would be close. I might have Membu over Olu just because of the size, or just because of the physical upside, where Olu is more of a finesse player, and more technical. Membu, I think, has a higher ceiling because I think he's stronger than Olu, while not more technically refined. So I think safer coming out of the draft, it's Olu. But for high upside, it's Membu. So I think like in terms of if they were both coming out in 2025, I'd have a really hard time saying who I would rank higher than the other. Like, I don't think Olu was such a better prospect than Membu, to be honest. Just because Membu's ceiling, just because of his ceiling, I think they'd be really close, very, very close in value coming out. So The thing with Membu quickly is Membu was a better run blocker than Olu. There's definitely a lot more flashes there. When people talk about Olu, or when people talk about Membu and they refer to him as some great run blocker who needs work on his pass protection, or even just a great run blocker in general, he's not that. There's plenty of flashes in the run game. There's plenty of aggression. He needs a lot more work technically, where his pass game is very well rounded. There's some little things he needs to work on in the passing game, but it's overall very good. So really gun to my head right now. 2024, they're both coming out. I probably take Membo over Olu, just because of the upside, while Olu being safer. Yeah, probably. Really close though. I really don't know. I feel like maybe I'm being crazy and there's recency bias there, but very close at the minimum. My hot take is that Membo is just better than Olu, especially when you add his potential due to athletic profile. Yeah, I kind of just said that. He's more athletic, or he has higher upside. That's old and a lot of losing. Not sure what that means. Obviously, that's 20 minutes ago. So good point. I hope Ulbrich team loses a draft pick as a deterrence. It's crazy. Yeah, it might have been the same kid. Joe's bringing some of the BSing streams. I miss these BSing streams. That's my favorite versus dedicated topic. Yeah, like me, and there's value, right? Like I like the dedicated topics, the top 25s, the ranking the AFC East. Having Nani on, going through the draft specifically, but then I also like going on here solo sometimes, and you guys just kind of bullshitting with me and throwing out some stuff. And I think what I will do is like what I wanted to do last year is almost do like a rotation of Nania. So maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do Nania every other week. I think he agreed to that, at least last year. Maybe he won't this year, and I'll be solo the entire time. But in my ideal world, maybe we do Nania every other week, and then we do a solo show with me 1 week, or we'll do it like this. It'll be a big rotation of 3. It'll be me by myself, Nania, Colin. Me by myself, Nania, Colin. I'm thinking of doing something like that. Even though like I know some people don't love Collins, what Collins would add to this show, but well, we'll see. But yeah, I think I'm gonna rotate. Like I don't want Nania here every week because I don't think he has the time to do that. But every other week, Nania, and then either me solo or me with some calls. We'll see. Yeah, the Shador thing was crazy. Again, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. We don't know what's going on. How did he interview? We weren't there. In the old NBA, they just shot mid-range instead of threes. All they do today is take a few steps back to get one more point. Way more athleticism and skill. Y'all liked watching one-on-one star play hero ball. Dude, there's so much isolation in today's NBA. Just guys dribbling around each other and then trying to find a lane. There's so much one-on-one. James Harden, LeBron, like there's so much one-on-one. Just guys just dribbling and finding a 3. Way more athleticism and skill. I don't know, man. Like I think having to be physical is a skill. I think having size and being tough is a skill. Like in terms of like finesse, yeah, there's more finesse now, but I won't agree with skill. Just because you could be well-rounded in skill. Like almost like an NFL thing. Yeah, maybe versus back in the day, there's more great receivers, so it's more finesse. But offensive line is also like a mauler type position that it requires skill. If you feel what I'm saying, like I just don't think more finesse. Fine, skillful. I don't know. Being Tim Duncan he was pretty skillful. They use the whole court. That's what I liked about it. And in those days, you'd have Shaq backing down a guy, a double come, and then you'd kick it out to maybe, a power forward or a small forward who could shoot. Like it was just more versatile instead of just people chucking up 65 fucking 3-pointers a game. It's just, y'all liked. Don't assume what I liked. I like the versatility. I like having Shaq, but AI at the same time. There is no Shaqs now. Well, obviously there's never going to be a Shaq. People like Jokic or whatever his name is. Jokic? I don't know how to actually say it, but different. Mason Taylor is not a too good pass blocker. Do you agree? I talked about this before. I'll quickly go on because I already highlighted this. I think he's an okay pass blocker at this point, but a bad run blocker with the upside to be better in both. That's what I'll say. Do you ever do a postseason grade on rookies? Grade on rookies? I don't. Like officially, no. But could I give grades on rookies after I do the reviews? Yeah, sure. If you want to ask me about it, like or ask me about it. Sorry, I know I say ask sometimes. People are like, did you say ask? Like, yeah, I say it wrong sometimes. It's ask. Do I ever give a grade? No, not officially. Could I? Sure. Olu B plus. Then a lot of C's and some D's. I don't know. Denzel Mims got cut by a UFL team. Again, it's a thing that we can't know about. Great on the field or good on the field, high physical upside. Dude is soft. Thoughts on Arian Smith being kick returner? No, I rather try out Corley there than him or what? Yeah, but they signed Kiki Nakwano or whatever his name is. He was good. He was good prior to the Jets at kick returning. He was good in limited reps with the Jets. It's going to be him. But past him, I would want Corley probably to get a try there because of the ability to break tackles. Arian Smith is good on design stuff with a wide open field. He's not a guy who's going to break down quickly, change direction, break tackles and all that stuff. He's just a straight line speed guy who you hope to get into the open field and let him run like an antelope. Even though he's 6 foot, like 175 or whatever. I do think don't get me wrong though. He does have the ability to change direction. He does have quick change of direction. He is quick. He can start quickly and all that stuff. He's not Tyreek Hill there because there's only one Tyreek Hill who's that quick plus fast. He's pretty damn quick, but not Tyreek. But my thing is he's slender and he's not the best in terms of like, I haven't seen him create a lot. So I want more creativity. So I would put Niguanu there or whatever his name is, and then Corley probably behind him. My better coaching and familiarity with Fields. Better coaching, yes. Better familiarity, how? I think people say that too much, honestly, Kev. What does familiarity do if he can't get open and can't catch the ball? Like, oh, I know Ruckert and I've talked to him about his girlfriend and his mom and his dad before. So now I could throw a ball better to him while the linebacker's breathing down my neck. Like I just being transparent. I think the continuity stuff, unless it's like Rodgers to Devontae, unless it's like that at the elite level, did they really build such a rapport where he was such a weapon at Ohio State? One of the things at Ohio State was he didn't really get targeted a lot. And that was one of the big questions. So he didn't pass him the ball there a lot. Now suddenly he's going to come into the NFL and have some rapport that's going to elevate his game. I'm just being honest. I don't think so. Maybe a slight bit, but enough to say that'll be part of why his game raises. No. Now coaching, yeah, sure. I think our boy Kev Middleton was highlighted because of a speech on Hard Knocks. Or the Senior Bowl or wherever it was in terms of developing players. He didn't do any of that. So I think Middleton was again a good talker, a fun clip. But in terms of being a good coach, everybody's like, oh, like I remember like whether it be like talking about coaching candidates or replacements for Saleh or guys who should be elevated to like OCs, like, oh, Ron Middleton. It's like you're basing your opinion literally on one clip of him saying like, die, go to heaven or whatever, or people want to go to heaven but don't want to die or whatever it was. It's like, all right. All right. Like if that's your if that's what's going to make you think that he's a good coach. But yeah, he didn't develop anybody. So maybe good coaching, but familiarity. Be honest, Kevin, you know that. I think it's a reach. Carter should have been known not to ask. For LT's number, yeah, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Like, should the next quarterback come and ask Namath for his number? And obviously, I think Taylor's a better overall player in NFL history than Joe Namath, but or Don Maynard or something like that. Like, is a rookie going to come and ask for that? Like, it's just no, absolutely not. And DeBrickashaw Ferguson, okay, if he was in the Ring of Honor, okay, I get it. If Olo's wearing that or something like that, or he is wearing that actually, but you know what I'm saying. If he wanted to ask him last year. Right? Olo's wearing Brick's number, right? That was a whole problem last year, I believe. Carter's an idiot. Plus, come on, bro. If you do that, you'll never have your own number retired. So, yeah, like, why do you want to live in the shadow? Maybe it's a Penn State thing because they all wear 11. Like now he's coming to the Giants to go 56, right? 56. I'll wear that, but I don't know, man. Do Mets X Factor. So I can name the roster and I can like talk about it like that. But obviously, I spoke about it a little bit there, but yeah, not like the Jets. But hey, we have Knicks X Factor, so maybe we'll do Jets, Knicks. Robbie will open Mets. all this stuff. Who else we got? I guess Rangers, right? There's obviously more Rangers fans than Devils and Islanders, but I'm a Devils fan, so which is strictly really my fandom is strictly because of obviously the teams being local and like which games did people bring me to first. Like I went to hockey games with my grandpa. He was a Devils fan. I'm a Devils fan. I went to Jets fan. I went to Jets games with my buddy and his dad, and I'm a Jets fan. My grandpa brought me to Nets games. I'm a Nets fan. Mets fan. I didn't really go to a lot of Mets games. I think I kind of got tied into the Mets stuff because of the family who liked the Jets, who ingratiated me or whatever, were Mets fans too, and I fell into that. Remember when they pranked Minter into warming up at Texas A&M? They pranked Minter. I'm not sure if I know what you're talking about, John. If you're talking about something in their draft, I was like so absent in terms of like listening to the Jets pick and stuff, but I could not sit down and just strictly watch it which I absolutely hated because I love watching the draft and seeing the guys' stories and looking into them a little bit and tracking it. But I also like, and excuse my French here, but I like my balls attached to my body. And if I just moved into a new house and then spent how many hours combined? Like 3 hours or like 4 hours first day, 4 hours next day, 8 hours the next day. If you're talking about 20 hours of me watching the draft straight, moving into my new house, they would not be attached, and I like them. So I kind of like watched it with an AirPod in my pocket. Jets coming up, Jets trade, I would pick up the phone. But yeah, I saw like multiple people were apparently I was going to say, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, apparently a lot of guys got pranked. I think it was like, obviously, I think Mason Graham was pranked and all this stuff. And obviously Sanders was pranked. There's a bunch of guys who were pranked. But Minter into warming up at Texas A&M, no. You're talking about like they said like, hey, we want to see you go warm up somewhere so you can draft you or something. Like you got to give me some background to that, Jets, Johnny. I was as I've admitted, pretty absent on draft weekend. I remember seeing Soto take too many pitches last year. Now sometimes he looks like he's guessing. Yeah, I think it's a thing where they're pitching more balls to him. They're more okay with like walking him than with Judge behind him. And it's a thing where like at the end of the day, Lindor came and struggled his first year. A lot of guys come to new teams and struggle their first year, but especially when you have what's the contract exactly? Is it $765 million, whatever it is? When you have that much money on your back and a fan base relying on you, there's a lot of pressure. He started off slow for 10, 15 games, and like there's fans out like, oh my God, he sucks. Look what the Mets got. It's like you're crazy, dude. You're crazy. He's gonna be fine. And he's starting to round out too. Jets, Mets, Knicks. Yeah, I'm Jets, Mets, Nets. If I could, in an alternate universe, decide my teams of New York to like before I was born, I would be a Knicks fan because I like the vibe more and stuff. But I'll never do that. So okay, let's see, 10.8 into 10. Oh yeah, Smith. Yeah, ridiculously explosive, broad jump, all that stuff. 18 seconds to 100 meter, broad, vertical were all really good. So let's see. I'm gonna keep scrolling down. Been going for 2 hours, which was easy. I still have a lot of chats here. Skinner, if you still believe in the Brees, then check out Blewetts Blitz in last September. Must watch. Yeah, and again, like it's there's no I have no bias towards any of these players. I just try to give my honest opinion because if I am biased towards a guy and I say he sucks and then he's great, then I look like an idiot. So I'm just gonna give you my completely honest opinion. And in my opinion, Brees was below average last year. JJ leadership guy, no doubt. Let's see. Thinking JJ will take half a season to get back to full speed. It might be a full season. You never know. The decent thing with JJ is he's more of an effort guy in the pass rush, and then more of a strength guy in the running game. So I don't think it wouldn't affect him as much as it would affect Will McDonald because they're different players. One's more technically sound and run stuffer and effort, and one's more obviously quick and bendy and all that stuff. It would affect McDonald much more so than JJ. So. Olu reminds me of Brick. I think that's a good one, especially for relevancy's sake. Nembo reminds you of, in terms of Jets, that's obviously kind of hard because the thing about him is he's supremely athletic too. Long arms, strong, quick feet, agile. People were saying like Penny Sewell, but obviously Penny Sewell was a much better prospect, but it's kind of hard in terms of Jets and like who people know. And I tend to hate player comparisons, but I don't know. Yeah, athletically, like what am I comparing him to? I don't know. I remember reminds me of a more a road grader brick, a brick with a road grader mentality and upside. Like I'm not trying to both technically sound or all three technically sound. Good in the pass game. Olu and Brick, I think, were only going to be okay in the running game ever. Where Membu has the upside to be better than those guys. Like out of all the players in the world, it's honestly hard. Olu's foot irrationally worries me. His foot from last year. What was the injury? I don't know what the injury was last year. Big foot with a foot, big dude with a foot injury should always worry you. Yeah, but it's not like a soft tissue thing, right? Is it? If it's a bone, bones heal. You can get plates and bones and rods and bones and stuff like that. I worry about soft tissue stuff. So what is soft tissue with the foot? I forget. Brees has great highlights, but he's boomer bust. Saquon has been, dude. Saquon, we're talking about different running. One's way better than the other. Like you said, Brees is the guy to get 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, 60. Even though last yards it was 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, 5 yards because the explosion wasn't there, the tackle breaking wasn't there. Plus, he couldn't hang on to a ball or catch a ball. So yeah, there's not a comparison. I'm not trying to hate on Brees, but you have to be realistic about what year one was. If he's year 1, year 2 Brees, then okay. It's just like, how does it make sense that he was more explosive in year 2 off of an injury than in year 3? Or sorry, I said 4 years for Brees. Year 1, great. Year 2, off the injury, better than year 3. So people are like, oh, well, it's the injury. It's the injury that hurt him. Why was he better the year after then and not 2 years after it? So was there a new injury? If your argument is there a new injury or there is a new injury, then yeah, we could say that. But you can't say the Achilles or the Achilles? Yeah, the Achilles is affecting him more so in 2024 than it affected him in 2023 when it happened in 2022. So what happens? But Saquon has been more consistent, better, much higher peak of his career. K Delgado, do you think Cisco works better in the box or at free? Free. He's gonna be more so free with the Jets. He has the versatility to play in the box. He has some man coverage skills. He's willing in the box to tackle and all that stuff. Again, he did make his money, and he is who he is at free safety. Some decent range, some good size. My biggest concern with him at free safety is his tackling from deep is brutal. It is Jordan Whitehead type level of missing tackles. He completely overruns guys, takes bad angles, takes too shallow angles. If it's outside runs, misses tackles. His tackling is brutal. So he needs to fix that. If he can't fix his tackling, he's not long-term for the Jets. It's not even a thing where like, oh, coverage bust and all that stuff, which exists with most, if not every safety. But if you're going to miss 5, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns or tackles that go for touchdowns, it's a problem. And that was his biggest problem there, which I don't love because we just kind of did that experiment with Jordan Whitehead, different players, but both awful at tackling. And Cisco is awful. And if you don't believe me, I have plenty of clips where it's just brutally bad. So he needs to fix that badly. That's a concern. Thinking about that now, that you have Cisco, who's a bad tackler, and Tony Adams, who's a bad tackler. So maybe Moore makes his way into the lineup quicker than we think. But the Jets probably have the worst tackling duo at safety in the NFL right now. Maybe it's just bad all over, but it is very bad. Their two safeties cannot tackle. So hopefully the second level can get those guys. Kenny Yeboah is better than Rucker. Yeah, in limited reps. Yeah, seriously. He showed some upside at the end of 2023, right? And then he didn't really play at all last year. Or was it the end of last year? He showed some upside. I forget. Entitlement, yeah. How's the new house? Obviously still coming together, but great, man. I'm actually getting progress done quicker than I thought I would. Every room is getting painted, all the walls, all the floors are getting done. TVs are hung up, all the wires are getting ran into the walls from the TVs, and I got a whole basement for storage now and a movie room. I'm gonna have a deck. It's awesome. I couldn't be happier. Again, I'll be here for the rest of my life. So I better choose to be happy. But yeah, no, we saw it pop up on the market. We didn't think we can get it. We got it, and again, it's more than double what my last house was. Double in terms of not only the square footage, but also probably the yards outside too. Like it's awesome. Work hard. I remember Hall falling a few times out being touched as if he couldn't decide. Yeah, that happened in the Bills. I think it's the Bills game the first week. He's like running to the edge, and there's a Bills defender who fills off the edge, and he just literally falls into him. Doesn't turn his feet, nothing, just falls into him. What do you think about drafting Alfred Collins instead of Mason? Yeah, Garrett. Again, I would be making up a bunch of mumbo jumbo. I don't really know a lot of guys in the draft. I'll just be honest with you. Membo gives me worse vibes, but with less aggression. Yeah, I think Wirfs to me, and again, this is now we're talking about 30,000 snaps ago of watching Wirfs because I officially evaluated him. Wirfs was stronger in the run game and more technically refined in the run game. Maybe not strong is not the right word. He's more technically refined in the run game and farther along in the run game. And again, this is as a prospect. Membo is farther along than Wirfs was as a pass protector coming out of college. Wirfs was farther ahead in the run game. In terms of like comparisons, I hate them transparent because everybody's different. Everybody's different. The team clarified that Fashion will not need surgery and they will expect him to fully recover. Plantar fasciitis or plantar, yeah, that's people get over that. Emphasis on the irrational. It's okay. It's okay. You're a Jets fan. You're a Jets fan. We're all irrational. Have you heard that Corley had a degenerative brain problem before he was drafted that Douglas knew about? No, and you're the first person I'm hearing that from, so I'm questioning the legitimacy. I heard that he may have been a little bit more of not a head case, but a little bit more immature than the Jets wanted him to be, but a brain problem. One, if you're saying that to be funny, kind of, I'm not trying to be a snowflake here, but a little bit fucked up. And two, no, you're the first person who's saying this to me, so I think you're a liar, Garrett. Do not lie to me. Delgado, during that draft, I couldn't believe we traded up for Brees and left Trey McBride on the board. Yeah, a lot of Jets fans wanted Trey McBride. I remember that. I also hated up for JJ instead of Carl Loftus. But okay, well, you may have been listening to either that's just purely based on your own opinion of Carl Loftus or mine. I liked Carl Loftus over JJ. And I would say so far in their careers, Carl Loftus is a more proven. What has he done this so far? I would have taken George Karlaftis over JJ. Personally. And you guys know that if you've been watching this for a while, but let's see, what has he done? Yeah, 6 sacks, 10.5 sacks, 8 sacks. I would have taken Karlaftis. Again, that's just me personally. I'm unhappy with JJ, just like you said, but if they're going to trade up for either one of them, I was happy with the trade up for JJ. Like people it was funny after the draft, like, oh my God, you hate JJ. The only thing I said about JJ was I wouldn't want him in the top 10 because I thought the ceiling to his pass rush was capped. They drafted him they traded up for him and got him at like 26. So I didn't hate him. Just because I don't like a guy in the top 10 doesn't mean I wouldn't love him at 26. Like that was my explanation to people. Oh, you hate him. I don't. Me saying that a guy who you think's in the top 10 should be at 20 at 20 or 25 is not me hating him. Same thing with Bowers. Bowers never said I hated Bowers. That's like the label on Twitter now for people who try and get after me. It's like, oh, you're the Bowers guy. You hated Bowers. I said I wouldn't take Bowers at where the Jets were. Or actually, no, I had Bowers over Fashanu. What I said about Bowers was I didn't see enough evidence to say that he's going to be an absolute stud because he was designed to open a lot, and you can't rely on Yak in the NFL. And the contested catches were a concern, while also saying that the year prior Bowers apparently had more contested catches. But I was transparent in saying I didn't watch them because I didn't have time to. So like the Bowers stuff, I could argue all day. It's like a Twitter got you, but I wasn't necessarily wrong on him. I said I didn't have enough evidence, and I said he could be a superstar. He was good. Again, I've heard from some people. A lot of it was like late in games and checkdowns and him just getting yak instead of like actually legitimate production. Not just reaching there. But I like to evaluate exactly what he did. But yeah, it's just crazy. Oh, you hated Bowers, you hate JJ. No. Karlaftis, I definitely like more than JJ. I would have taken him over JJ, but that's not here, not there. Not there. Obviously, Karlaftis has proven more, and he wasn't injured, so that's a positive. But I think he's also been a better player so far from my limited watching. But I also like what JJ has offered, so I'm not going to complain. Simply they're the worst tackling secondary. Yeah, that might be a problem. And on top of that, we're not overly confident in the run game. So I'm a little bit concerned with the Jets' ground game because their safeties are awful at tackling. Stevens is a good tackler, though. Stevens is a good tackler. Sauce, obviously not good. Thomas, not great. Michael Carter, I think Carter is a plus tackler as a slot corner. I think Stevens is a plus corner as a tackler at corner too. But yeah, you worry about Sauce, you worry about Thomas, and Thomas misses tackles not because of aggression. Like people, reading about him before I actually did the eval or started to eval, it's like, oh, he's a bad tackler, doesn't have the strength. It's not a strength thing. He has plenty of strength. He tries to throw his shoulder a lot, and he doesn't wrap up a lot. So it's not a strength or effort thing. It's a technique thing with him. So don't get that twisted. But yeah, it's going to be bad. Did you see Bart Scott say the Jets had taken Shedeur? Zero. I saw zero. And again, I'm not just saying this to like be that guy, like, oh, I don't care about anyone else's opinions, because sometimes I will listen to other podcasts, like Jets podcasts and stuff. I saw zero people's opinions on the draft so far. Whether it be Bart Scott, I don't watch mainstream stuff anyway, so there's zero chance I'd watch Bart Scott. But typically, I'd be more involved in Twitter Spaces or podcasts or whatever it may be. But no, definitely not Bart Scott. Karlaftis has been good. His draft profile was really good, but boring. Yeah, but boring. I'm fine with boring. If you're a boring player, but you're gonna give me 10 sacks a year and be a really good run defender, then give me boring. Karlaftis was super, super, super clean technically as a pass rusher, or at least, I'm not gonna say super, super clean. I think there was probably some more variety that Karlaftis needed, but I liked Karlaftis a lot. And again, not saying I didn't hate I hated JJ, but I thought people were being a little bit crazy, and we're at a certain point, it got to JJ at 4 talk, and I was like, okay, that's crazy. And then that ended up being a little bit crazy, and then it was more JJ at 10 talk. And I personally said I would not like him at 10. I think he's more of a mid to late first round guy, and they got him in the late first round. Awesome. More technically sound run defender with high effort. Yeah, I would say Karlaftis had more pass rush moves and more wins as a pass rusher, probably. More technically sound run blocker though for JJ. I'm not sure. Karlaftis is technically sound pretty much everywhere, and Karlaftis is also super high effort. I think JJ has a higher athletic upside than Karlaftis. Yeah, even though both aren't crazy high. Both athletic upside are not crazy high in terms of like being 20 sack guys. I think JJ's is a little bit higher than Karlaftis. Karlaftis is a little bit stouter and a little bit longer or shorter arms. Yeah, shorter arms, but yeah, both had high effort and both were technically sound run defenders. Joe, what do you think about all these people? Yeah. What did they think about mocking us for the first? It's the got you. It's to get people to click on it. Why did a fantasy football outlet put out that Patrick Mahomes was like the 12th rated fantasy quarterback to get clicks? We're not gonna be the first team. Yeah, McShay. Okay, I don't think I've ever valued Todd McShay's opinion on anything. Glenn's D plays a lot of 2 high safeties with another safety in the box when in nickel, who starts as far as the secondary. 2 high. You got cover 1. I don't think does he play cover 2? Does he play cover 2 a lot? He might actually play cover 2. I'm forgetting. I don't know exactly what he's in. I know it's more man coverage, but the Jets were more single high safety. Or actually, well, yeah, they played single high probably the most, right? Because you had a lot of cover 1, a lot of decent amount of cover 3, and then quarters obviously in there as well. But I would probably say the most was middle of the field closed. With them 2 safeties with another safeties. You're saying 3? You're saying do you think they would have 3 safeties in terms of like a big nickel? And that look obviously it would be more. It would be more. Yeah, then Michael Carter the second's off the field. That's the problem. Like I think they may run some big nickel, and get more on the field, but they just paid Carter, not them specifically, but Carter is paid on your team. He's a very good, versatile slot. So I don't think you necessarily have to bring in a big safety. So it's probably going to be Michael Carter II primarily. But in terms of like his tendencies, does he have a tendency to play more big nickel? I don't know. I don't know if you're just saying that. You did just say that Corley had a brain tumor too, so I'm not sure if I should be believing you on what Glenn's going to be playing. I know it's going to be more too high, and it's going to be a lot more 5-man fronts. I know it's going to be more mixing of like hybrid fronts where guys are two gapping. I know there's going to be more blitzing. Like I said, more man coverage. Is going to be playing a lot of big nickel. I can attest. Myoga also whiffs quite a bit. Maybe I'm old, but I miss a stack and shed linebacker. I don't think that's necessarily gone away. You get like more of the stack and shed guys into like the 3-4 stuff and not the 4-3, where 4-3 is more go. But they still exist. But in terms of like who, like, do you miss David Harris? Because I'll be honest, and this is something that maybe gets me a little bit not outed with Jets fans, but Jets fans don't like that I say this, but I think David Harris is probably more one of the overrated players that Jets fans tend to overrate. Good in the run game, but severely limited in all aspects of pass coverage. And even in that time, you need to cover someone out of the backfield, and he just got abused on every single wheel route ever ran against him. It's like I think he's like 0 for 25 on wheel routes for touchdowns in his career. Like, I think Dave Harris is overrated by Jets fans. I do. Late to the party, Curly, perfect timing. You were very late because I was supposed to be off like 10, 15 minutes ago, but go back and watch, hopefully, unless you're just like, I'm a guy who only watches live, but hopefully you enjoy it. About to wrap up, but yeah, all is well. Moving new house, crazy life going on right now. Joe representing our New York Jets as a great NY Jets content creator, person, and fan, etc. Oh, I appreciate that, dude. Thanks. Never understood why he was regarded so lowly in the draft. In terms of who was I just talking about? Lowly in the draft. Karlaftis? Talking about Karlaftis? I don't know. Shorter white dude with short arms. Be that. All I know at this stage is that Wilkes prefers 4-3 and Glenn prefers 3-4, but I don't know about the back end. Yeah, it's gonna be more too high. It's me more getting guys in the box. Like Garrett said, like the more too high thing is correct. More too high, more getting guys in the box instead of three high. And that's obviously that's one less guy, closer on the line of scrimmage. It's gonna be more blitzing. It's gonna be more man coverage. In terms of the 3-4, I think it's gonna be a 4-3 because that's what our personnel is. But there's gonna be principles and sprinkles of a 3-4 in terms of like two gapping and things like that. Joe, thoughts on our Jets possibly adding one more safety? I would like another safety in the room, but transparently, like give me receiver 2, tight end 2, and D tackle over Julian Blackman. Like, good name, but what are we doing at the other spots? I'd rather those. Okay, let's see. McShay rated about Zach Wilson, off platform mental processing. I value whoever McShay dislikes. Now, I'm not going to say I didn't like Zach either. There's a lot into quarterback evaluations and stuff, but McShay isn't one. He's more of a college football guy. So why do I value his opinion on college? Or he's more of a college football guy. Why do I value his opinion on NFL? Sorry. Corley's a rookie. Yeah, kind of. That's my cue. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for jumping on. I'll see you next week, maybe.